Chapter 1042. Little girl, don't be arrogant. Although my Mu family can't be compared to your Wang family, it won't be that easy to enter my Mu family. The inner demon's Qin Feiyang chuckled and ignored Wang Yuer, who was gnashing her teeth. He turned to look at Wang Ziqing and asked, "Where is the birthplace of the elixir fire?" "It's not on this island." Wang Ziqing shook his head. The inner demon's Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion, "Since it's not on this island, why are you here?" "It's a long story." Wang Ziqing sighed deeply and said with a smile, "Brother Mu, please come with me." He smiled reluctantly. Then, he rose into the sky, turned into a stream of light, and flew to the left side of the island. The inner demon's Qin Feiyang frowned and quickly followed. Young Master Hao glanced at the two of them, then looked at the indifferent Wang Yuer and asked, "Sister, aren't you going?" "What for?" Wang Yuer asked coldly. Young Master Hao said, "Brother Mu's brother is very strong. Maybe he can defeat them." "So what?" Wang Yuer snorted. Young Master Hao said, "In this way, we can enter that island and wait for an opportunity to snatch the elixir fire. If you want to go, you go. I won't go." Wang Yuer turned her head and looked away. If she still followed them, wouldn't she be even more a joke? Young Master Hao said helplessly, "Sister, don't be so stubborn. The task is more important." After that, he forcibly dragged Wang Yuer and chased after the inner demons Qin Feiyang and Wang Ziqing. About half an hour passed. Another island came into the sight of the inner demons Qin Feiyang. The island was not very big, about a dozen miles or so. There was a huge volcano in the center, which was erupting red magma and illuminating half the sky. There were no beasts or plants on the island, only piles of volcanic ash. The sky above the island was also extremely hazy. Wang Ziqing stopped and looked at the island from afar. He said in a deep voice, "Big Brother Mu, this is actually the birthplace of the alchemy fire. Then why don't you guys wait here?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, was suspicious. "It's a long story. Back then, after we separated from your younger brother, we came here directly. At the beginning, it was still all right. There were only the three of us. However, more and more people started to arrive. Furthermore, most of them were battle emperors. We have no choice but to hide and wait for an opportunity. But this afternoon, an old man suddenly discovered us and chased us out." Wang Ziqing said helplessly. Upon hearing this, the inner demon's Qin Feiyang scanned the island. His eyes flickered as he asked, "How many are there?" 10 people. Their cultivation levels are between 4-star and 6-star combat emperors," Wang Ziqing said. The inner demon's Qin Feiyang asked, "Do you know who they are?" "I don't know." Wang Ziqing shook his head. "I know." Young Master Hao suddenly said, "Who?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, turned to look at him. Young Master Hao said, "The people of the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion. I was wondering why they didn't kill you. It turns out that they are from these forces." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, suddenly understood. If it were anyone else, they would have been killed by those 10 people. However, regardless of whether it was the people of the 9 super tribes or the trading pavilion, they all knew young Master Hao and Wang Yuer. Naturally, they wouldn't dare to act recklessly. At the same time, upon hearing the conversation between Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and young Master Hao, the shock in Wang Ziqing's eyes intensified. He looked at young Master Hao and Wang Yuer and asked suspiciously, "Who are you two?" He had also thought about this question. Why didn't those 10 people kill them but only chase them away? At first, he thought that those 10 people might not care about them because they were young and weak. However, he didn't expect that it was because of Wang Yuer and young Master Hao. As for the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion, although he had never been to the Divine City, he had more or less heard about them. Even the people from these superpowers didn't dare to touch them. How terrifying were these 2 people's origins? In the past, he also thought about asking about their identities in person, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was too rash to inquire about their background since they had just known each other for a short time. Therefore, he didn't ask them. But now, he really couldn't hold it in anymore. And this time, he made up his mind to get an answer. Well, in the face of Wang Ziqing's question, young Master Hao looked at Wang Yuer at a loss. Wang Yuer glanced at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and then looked at Wang Ziqing and said, "Our identities are not important. The important thing is, how did the people of the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion know that the alchemy fire was born here?" "That's right. Who leaked the news?" Young Master Hao was surprised. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, glanced at the two of them, looked up at the island and sneered, "You two are still too naive." "Brother Mu, what do you mean?" Young Master Hao was suspicious. Wang Yuer raised her eyebrows in dissatisfaction. "The main tower seems to be calm, but in fact, there are undercurrents surging. I might as well tell you the truth. Whether it is the super tribes or the trading pavilion, they all have spies in the main tower. And these spies have a very high status in the main tower." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said, "What? There is such a thing?" The two of them were surprised. "Are you surprised? Then if I tell you that the mysterious Mu family also has spies in the main tower, will you believe it?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, smiled playfully. Well, the two of them looked at each other. "Brother Mu, you can't say that. If you say that the super tribes and the trading pavilion have spies in the main tower, I will believe it. But we have always minded our own business. They would never do such a thing." Young Master Hao said, "Otherwise, why would I say that you are still too naive? Some things are not as simple as you think." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, sneered. Young Master Hao frowned. He felt that what Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said was too outrageous. But Wang Yuer couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. She was older than young Master Hao, and her cultivation was stronger than young Master Hao. She had seen more than young Master Hao, so her vision of things was also better than young Master Hao. And what Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said seemed unintentional, but in fact, there was a deep meaning in his words. She couldn't help but begin to doubt. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something. She looked at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and her eyes flickered. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I am very handsome now?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, stroked his chin and laughed. Wang Yuer rolled her eyes and said in a deep voice, "I have always ignored a problem, that is, your surname. You two brothers are surnamed Mu. Are you from the Mu family?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, was stunned. Young Master Hao was also stunned. Looking at Qin Feiyang's reaction, Wang Yuer narrowed her eyes slightly and said, "Is it true that I am right?" "Hey!" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, grinned, stepped forward, grabbed Wang Yuer's neck, and said coldly, "Since you have been guessed, I have to kill you." Wang Yuer's face turned pale. Young Master Hao also changed his expression and asked in disbelief, "Brother Mu, is that true?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, acted so real that young Master Hao couldn't help but believe it. "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, looked at him coldly. Young Master Hao's heart instantly fell into an ice valley. At the same time, in his heart, a burst of anger burst out. He stared at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and roared, "How dare you use me? The Mu family is too much. I didn't use you. It was my brother who used you. You're really stupid. You believed him so easily. But then again, we really have to thank you. If it weren't for your help, my useless brother wouldn't have the chance to become your father's disciple." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, joked. "Bastard!" Young Master Hao roared. "What? Ancestor Mu is young Master Hao's father's disciple? Doesn't that mean that young Master Hao is the chief Tower Master's son?" Wang Ziqing looked at young Master Hao in surprise. He didn't expect that young Master Hao was the son of the Master of the Forgotten Continent. What about Wang Yuer? Young Master Hao had always called her sister. Was she also the chief Tower Master's daughter? "What are you shouting for? Is it useful to shout now?" Wang Yuer shouted at young Master Hao angrily, then looked at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and said, "We are really blind. After being with Ancestor Mu for so long, we didn't see through his true colors." "Ha!" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, laughed, then let go of Wang Yuer and flew toward the island without looking back. Young Master Hao was stunned. Wang Yuer was also stunned. "My little brother was right. You two are really naive." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, laughed loudly and quickly entered the island. Naive. Too much, too much. The two immediately gnashed their teeth. After all this time, this person was just teasing them. But the next moment, young Master Hao's expression changed, and he shouted, "Brother Mu, don't go. It's dangerous. Stop shouting. Since he dares to go, it means that he is confident. Let's just wait for the good show." Wang Ziqing said, but there was a thoughtful look in his eyes. A son of the Chief Tower Master, a daughter of the Chief Tower Master, and a personal disciple of the Chief Tower Master. What was the purpose of these three coming to Qinghai? Suddenly, his eyes trembled slightly. Could it be that they were here for the alchemy fire? "You guys be careful. I have something to deal with," Wang Ziqing hurriedly said, then turned around and used the perfect auxiliary battle technique, disappearing from the sight of young Master Hao and Wang Yuer. What is he going to do? Young Master Hao frowned. Who knows? Wang Yuer pursed her lips. At the same time, on the volcanic island, Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, stood above the island, scanning below. The air here was very dry and hot, and ashes were flying everywhere. Although it was already night, under the illumination of the fire, everything on the island could be clearly seen. There were no living creatures on the island, but around the volcano, there were 10 figures sitting cross-legged. Chapter 1043. Ancestor Mu. At the same time, the 10 people also noticed the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Their eyes were filled with doubt. 3-star combat emperor? How could this be? Wasn't Ancestor Mu a combat saint? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, waved his hand and smiled. "Hi, everyone. You are Ancestor Mu?" a middle-aged woman asked. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, cupped his hands and smiled. "Ancestor Mu is my younger brother. I am called Ancestor Mu. Everyone is my elder. If you don't mind, you can call me Ancestor Mu." Ancestor? The 10 people's faces immediately darkened. Which immoral bastard came up with the names of these two brothers? One called Ancestor Mu, and the other called Ancestor Mu. Wasn't this taking advantage of others? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, chuckled and glanced at them. Suddenly, he locked his gaze on a certain person. His blood-red eyes were filled with coldness. An old man in green stood there. He had white hair and a white beard. His hands were behind his back, and his whole body was emitting a kind of otherworldly aura. That's right. This person was Pei Qin. The inner demons secretly laughed. "Deity, I found this old man. How should we deal with him?" "Do as you see fit." Qin Feiyang's voice sounded in the inner world. It was also filled with a bone-chilling coldness. "Understood." The inner demons licked his lips and looked at the old man in green. He smiled and said, "Senior, you look familiar. Have I seen you somewhere before?" The old man in green was slightly stunned. He chuckled and said, "Really? Why don't I remember seeing you before?" No. I must have seen you before." The inner demons waved his hand and suddenly revealed a look of realization. "Oh right, one of the Qinghai 10 heroes, Viper." The old man in green was shocked and asked suspiciously, "Who is Viper?" "You don't know? Then why did my brother tell me that someone is instigating Viper to get rid of him?" The inner demons joked. The Divine Python tribe wants to get rid of Ancestor Mu?" The other 9 people were bewildered. Hearing this, Pei Qin's expression changed slightly, but he quickly concealed it. He smiled at the inner demons and said, "Little friend, I don't understand what you're saying. Even if Viper wants to get rid of your brother, what does that have to do with me?" However, his heart was filled with bewilderment. What's with the Viper? Could he have been exposed? Of course it has something to do with you. Because you were the one who instigated Viper. I was looking for you too. I didn't expect to meet you so soon. The inner demon sneered. Pei Qin's face sank, and he said angrily, "Little friend, you can't speak carelessly like that. Your younger brother is the Chief Pagoda Master's personal disciple. How could I dare to attack him?" "Haha, old man, stop pretending. Viper told me everything about you. Tell me, how are you going to compensate me? Let me make it clear to you first. My brother's life is very valuable. Don't try to fool me with some useless things." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said slowly. Everyone was surprised. Did it mean that Ancestor Mu had died in the hands of Viper? Yes, my brother is dead. He died in the hands of Viper. At that time, he asked me for help. However, when I rushed to the inner sea, it was already too late. As for my brother's death, I believe that many of you here are very happy. The inner demon said with a sad smile, "He's really dead." Everyone looked at each other. Pei Qin asked calmly, "What about Viper?" The inner demon said with a smile, "Would I let the person who killed my brother live?" Okay, now there's no proof. Pei Qin was secretly happy. He looked at the inner demons and sighed, "Little friend, I don't know what Viper told you, but your brother's death really has nothing to do with me. My condolences." Yes, the divine python tribe has no grudge with Ancestor Mu. How could Pei Qin harm him? A middle-aged man said with a smile. This man was from the Qilin tribe. His name was Wu Kai. Is that so? The inner demons looked at Wu Kai and Pei Qin and seemed to be shaken. Yes. Both of them nodded at the same time. Okay, then I'll go and check again. The inner demon frowned and disappeared into the night sky like a flash of lightning. Phew. Pei Qin secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Ancestor Mu is dead? This is not a small matter. Yes, if this news spreads to the Divine City, it will definitely cause an unprecedented storm. The few of them discussed animatedly. Their eyes were full of shock. Pei Qin glanced at the other 9 people and said with a smile, "Everyone, I suddenly remembered that I have something to deal with. Excuse me." Then, without waiting for the 9 people to respond, he turned and flew to the other side of the island. Wu Kai of the Qilin tribe looked at Pei Qin's back and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Then, he looked at the 8 people and said with a smile, "I have something to do too. Excuse me." After that, he also turned and disappeared quickly. Hypocrite, the 8 people sneered. It was obvious that Pei Qin and Wu Kai were going to pass the news back. Then, the 8 people went in different directions to pass the news back to their own tribes. At the edge of the southern part of the island, Pei Qin took out the image crystal and his battle chi surged. After a while, the shadow of the leader of the divine python tribe appeared. The leader of the divine python tribe looked at Pei Yi and said with a smile, "Elder Qin, you're all smiles. Do you have any good news?" Pei Qin nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, Ancestor Mu is dead." The leader of the divine python tribe was stunned and asked in surprise, "How did he die?" "I was killed by a man named Viper." Pei Qin immediately told him what had happened in a concise and clear manner. After that, the leader of the divine python tribe was overjoyed. He nodded and said with a smile, "Good, good, good. This hidden danger is finally removed. I can rest assured. Now your task is to get the elixir fire back." I'm afraid that's a little difficult because the other 8 super tribes in the trading pavilion have also sent people here. Pei Qin said. They also received the news? The leader of the divine python tribe frowned and said, "Well, I won't force you. Try your best." "Yes." Pei Qin answered respectfully and turned off the image crystal. "Haha, I didn't expect that you really killed Ancestor Mu. You're amazing." At this moment, a sneer sounded. "Who is it?" Pei Qin's eyes turned cold. He suddenly turned around and looked in the direction of the voice, only to see a middle-aged man walking out from behind a rock. "It's you, Wu Kai." Pei Qin's old face suddenly became extremely gloomy. "If I hadn't been suspicious and followed you, I would have thought that Ancestor Mu's brother had wronged you." Wu Kai chuckled. "What do you want?" Pei Qin's eyes surged with killing intent. Wu Kai said with a smile, "Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking the opportunity to threaten you. On the contrary, I want to thank you properly." "Thank me?" Pei Qin frowned, but at the next moment, he seemed to have thought of something and the killing intent in his eyes quickly dissipated. He chuckled and said, "Your Qilin tribe should indeed thank me properly." "What do you mean?" This time, Wu Kai was puzzled. Pei Qin said, "Guoxiangzhong, the trusted aide of your leader, failed several times to assassinate Ancestor Mu. Now that I've helped you get rid of this big problem, shouldn't you thank me?" "How do you know?" Wu Kai's face darkened. "Ever since Ancestor Mu entered Qinghai City, I've been secretly monitoring him, so I know everything that Guoxiangzhong has done." Pei Qin said with a smile. So your divine python tribe has started to act so early, but I'm very puzzled. Why do you want to get rid of Ancestor Mu? What deep grudge does he have with your divine python tribe? Wu Kai frowned. Pei Qin's eyes flashed, and he said expressionlessly, "It's not your place to ask about these things." Wu Kai said with a smile, "Okay, I've said too much. Anyway, Ancestor Mu's death is good for both of us." "That's true." Pei Qi nodded with a smile and said, "By the way, let me tell you another news. Guo Xiangzhong is dead." "What?" Wu Kai's face changed and he asked, "Who killed him?" "One is called the Big Bull, and the other is called Wang Ziqing. You've seen Wang Ziqing before. He's the young man with young Master Hao. Both of them are part of the Qinghai 10 heroes and are quite powerful." Pei Qin said, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Wu Kai said angrily, "If he had known at that time, even if young Master Hao and Wang Yu were present, he wouldn't have let Wang Ziqing leave the island alive. It's not too late to say it now, because the Qinghai 10 heroes will definitely come to snatch the alchemy fire. After all, they were the first to discover the alchemy fire here. With their arrogance, they won't let us snatch it easily." Pei Qin smiled mockingly. Then, without further delay, he turned into a stream of light and flew toward the volcano without looking back. "Big Bull, Wang Ziqing, how dare you kill the people of my Qilin tribe? You'll all die." Wu Kai's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he turned to leave. Not long after the two left, a half-meter-long snake appeared in a pile of stones not far away. It was the Spirit Snake Emperor. The Spirit Snake Emperor's tail was wrapped around an image crystal. Hee. Looking in the direction where Pei Qin and Wu Kai disappeared, the Spirit Snake Emperor laughed sinisterly and left quietly with the image crystal. On the other side, above the sea, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, stood in the wind. Whoosh! Soon, the Spirit Snake Emperor returned and gave the image crystal to the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. "Little guy, well done." The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, rubbed its head and turned on the image crystal. The scene of Pei Qin and Wu Kai's conversation immediately appeared in the void in front of them. After knowing that Qin Feiyang's true body was not dead, the Spirit Snake Emperor was not so afraid of the inner demons. It coiled on the inner demon's shoulder and laughed sinisterly. "Now, the leaders of the major tribes think that we're dead. That's the effect I want. I want to see their expressions when they see us return to the divine city alive." The inner demons joked and put away the image crystal. Then, he grabbed the Spirit Snake Emperor and said, "It'll be dangerous later. You should go to the castle first." The Spirit Snake Emperor nodded. The inner demons waved his hand, and the Spirit Snake Emperor disappeared immediately. Then, the inner demons laughed sinisterly and turned in the air, flying toward the island again. Chapter 1044. In the center of the island, the people of the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion had all returned one after another. They each occupied one side, waiting for the birth of the alchemy fire. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying murderous intent surged like a tide, enveloping the entire island. The 10 people were shocked and looked up. When they saw the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, coming back, their eyes were filled with surprise. Swish! The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, stopped above the crater. The magma that erupted could not withstand his pressure at all and scattered all over the sky. Pei Qin smiled and asked, "Little friend, why are you back?" "I forgot one thing." The inner demons raised the corner of his mouth and glanced at the crater below. Inside the volcano, he could faintly feel the aura of the alchemy fire. Obviously, the alchemy fire that had not yet been born was inside this volcano. Seeing the inner demons glancing at the crater, the 3 people could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. Pei Qin smiled without batting an eyelid. "Little friend, there should be a first come, first served rule for everything. First come, first serve. Are you kidding? In this world, it's about whose fist is bigger. Now I officially announce that the alchemy fire here is mine. You can get lost." The inner demons looked proud and did not put the 10 people in his eyes. Get lost? There was no doubt that the 10 people were furious. Not to mention their identity, just based on their strength, No one dared to speak to them in such a tone. The word "get lost" was not only humiliating them, but also trampling on their dignity. You don't agree? The inner demons glanced at the crowd, his eyes full of contempt. Although little friend's strength is exceptional, we old fellows are not too weak either. Thus, I'll give little friend a word of advice. It's best to take care of yourself. Pei Qin laughed and said. The inner demons looked at Pei Qin and said with a smile, Old man, you seem to be the most arrogant among these people. Haven't you heard that the bird that sticks out gets shot? Boom. After saying that, the inner demons exuded a shocking murderous aura and rushed toward Pei Qin. Damn it! Pei Qin quivered. Only now did he realize that no one else had spoken. How could he be so foolish? He was extremely vexed. However, it was too late to regret now. His gaze was gloomy as he coldly snorted. The bird that sticks out will be shot. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying emperor's aura rushed out of his old body and pounced towards Qin Feiyang. I have finally seen your cultivation level clearly. I originally thought that you were a 6-star combat emperor, but it turns out that you were just a 5-star combat emperor. The inner demon smiled contemptuously and landed in front of Pei Qin like a bolt of lightning, slapping him in the air. No battle chi. He didn't use any battle arts either. The inner demon scoffed. Did you see that? I don't even need battle aura to deal with you. Crazy. Ancestor Mu is already crazy enough, but this person is even crazier than Ancestor Mu. As expected of a brother. Wu Kai and the other's pupils shrank. However, Pei Qin was a 5-star combat emperor, but this person was only a 3-star combat emperor. There was a difference of 2 small realms, but he didn't even need to use battle aura. Wasn't he being too arrogant? As for Pei Qin, there was no doubt that he was completely enraged by the inner demon's words. Brat, you will soon know that you are not qualified to be arrogant in front of this old man. Pei Qin roared as he stretched out his old arm. Battle chi surged from his palm as he slapped towards the inner demons without any intention of dodging. This was what he thought. Since this person dared to be arrogant, he might as well take the opportunity to kill him with a single palm strike. After all, paper cannot wrap fire. If this matter was exposed one day, and this person found out that he was related to Ancestor Mu's death, then it would be even more troublesome. Therefore, he might as well cut the weeds and eliminate the roots now. Boom. In an instant, the 2 palms collided. However, at the same time, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang's palm emitted a dazzling golden light. Return formula. At that moment, Pei Qin was sent flying. His arm was lacerated and blood flowed out. What? Pei Qin was defeated? Wu Kai and the others were stunned. One must know that Pei Qin had used his battle chi. How could he be defeated by this person? What was going on? This power. It can actually rebound. Pei Qin himself was also in disbelief. After stabilizing his body, he looked at the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, in horror. Looking at your incredible appearance, I thought you were very strong. It turns out that this is all there is to it. The inner demons grinned and took a mysterious step. He left a series of phantoms around Pei Qin. Each of the phantoms was incomparably real as if they were his clones. Phantom steps. This is a perfect auxiliary combat art. Wu Kai was shocked. A middle-aged woman frowned and said, Why does this combat art look a little familiar? Familiar? Everyone looked at her in surprise. I can't remember at the moment. However, this kind of footwork should be very scary because no one knows where his real body is, the middle-aged woman said in a deep voice. Everyone nodded. Pei Qin might be in trouble now. Looking at Pei Qin again. At this moment, his face was gloomy as he glanced at the phantoms of the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Indeed, as Wu Kai and the others expected, in the face of the phantoms all over the sky, he really couldn't tell which one was Qin Feiyang's real body. However, it wasn't impossible to crack, as long as all the phantoms were destroyed. Destroy for me. He raised his head and roared, his hair standing on end. His whole body was like a rainbow, rolling in all directions. Those phantoms continued to be destroyed. Old man, I'm here. Suddenly, a playful voice rang in Pei Qin's ears. Pei Qin's hair suddenly stood up, and he didn't hesitate to throw a punch. Hey! The inner demon smiled ferociously and directly slapped with his big hand. The golden light in his palm reappeared. Boom! Ah! Accompanied by a scream, Pei Qin was once again blasted away and his arm shattered on the spot. It actually bounced back. Pei Qin's body and mind trembled. Previously, when he felt the power bouncing back, he thought it was just an illusion. Because in his opinion, there couldn't be such a strange thing in the world. But this time, he felt it incomparably real. That shattered arm was also the best proof. How do you know this kind of battle art? Pei Qin looked at the inner demons in surprise. Because as far as he knew, there was another person who had mastered the same battle art. That was the infamous Qin Feiyang. What do you think? The inner demons licked his lips, raised his head and shouted, "Ultimate ruins." An invisible force suddenly roared towards Pei Qin like a torrent. You're too arrogant. Pei Qin's eyes were cold, and a black aura broke out of his body. Not good. Retreat. Wu Kai and the others changed color and quickly retreated. What's the situation? The inner demons was surprised. The next moment, the black aura that appeared from Pei Qin's body suddenly turned into a black fog and pounced toward Qin Feiyang with overwhelming momentum. This black mist carried a strong fragrance. The inner demon smelled it and suddenly felt dizzy. Poisonous. His eyes trembled. He actually forgot that this old thing was also a poisonous creature, and it was even more terrifying than a viper. After all, it could even control a viper. He immediately held his breath and retreated. Haha. This poisonous gas is my biggest trump card, comparable to a perfect battle art. Even if you hold your breath, you can't stop it because it will penetrate through your pores. Look carefully, your skin is already festering, and in less than 10 breaths, you will be smashed to pieces. Pei Qin laughed wildly, and his face was quite ferocious. The inner demons was shocked and hurriedly raised his hands and looked down. Sure enough, the skin on his hands had already shown signs of festering, and the black mist was like a gangrene attached to the bones, and once it stuck, it could not be shaken off. Kid, I admit that you are very strong, but there is a saying that the older the ginger, the spicier it is. You are still far from it. Pei Qin looked at him disdainfully. TSK, TSK, TSK. I let you take advantage of me a little, and you are so proud. Old man, your temperament still needs to be tempered. The inner demons shook his head and sneered. The purple-gold dragon aura soared into the sky, and a purple-gold divine dragon quickly appeared above his head. The dragon's power shook the world. Roar! Then the purple-gold divine dragon let out a deafening dragon roar, and an invisible sound wave rolled out. In an instant, the black mist between heaven and earth was annihilated one after another. Pei Qin himself was also drowned in the sound wave, and his body was dripping with blood in an instant, and even his bones could be seen in some places. Even Wu Kai and the others who had retreated far away had blood spurting out of their ears, and their minds were rumbling. They were all horrified. What kind of battle art was this? It was terrifying to such an extent. In a trance, they seemed to have seen a god descending into the world, and an indescribable fear emerged in their hearts. At the same time, the volcano also collapsed, and the magma was like fireworks, erupting all over the sky. However, the pill fire had not appeared yet. The inner demons raised his head and looked at Pei Qin, revealing a mouthful of white teeth, and laughed. You can't even withstand a single blow? Little bastard, I will cripple you. Pei Qin was burning with anger. A dignified 5-star war emperor was actually suppressed and beaten by a 3-star war emperor, and in front of so many acquaintances. Where would he put his old face in the future? This great shame must be washed away. Boom! His hair fluttered in anger, and his entire body's aura was released. Following closely, a black giant python soared into the sky from behind him. It was hundreds of feet long, like a majestic mountain ridge, emitting a world-shaking ferocious aura. It was his battle soul. The inner demons pretended to be afraid and exclaimed, Ayaya, you're using your trump card so soon? Little bastard, you won't be proud for long. Innate divine ability, light of destruction. As soon as he finished, A jet black light suddenly shot out from between the giant python's eyebrows, emitting a world-destroying power. It pierced through the sky and shot towards Qin Feiyang. Then you may be disappointed, because I will continue to be proud, and your divine python tribe will be trampled into pieces by me sooner or later. As for you, prepare to report to hell now. The inner demon's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light, and the red sword spirit appeared out of nowhere. The innate divine ability was awakened, and the flaming beast shadow roared out. Roar! Clang! The two great battle souls carried a destructive power and rushed towards the black light. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shaking sound, the black light dissipated. Following that, the two great battle arts pounced towards the giant python. Hiss! With a wail, the giant python also collapsed on the spot. Puff! The innate divine ability and battle soul were destroyed one after another. Pei Qin's body suffered an unprecedented injury. His body trembled and blood spurted out. Looking at the roaring flaming beast shadow and the red sword spirit, a trace of despair crept into his eyes. Chapter 1045. No. Suddenly, Pei Qin's gaze trembled. The flaming beast shadow and the red sword aura were the same as Qin Feiyang's fighting soul. The same fighting soul, the same fighting art. Could he be Qin Feiyang? At the thought of this, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face as he shouted to Wu Kai. This person is Qin Feiyang. Quickly join hands with me and kill him. What? Qin Feiyang. Wu Kai and the others stared. I remember too. Qin Feiyang's perfect auxiliary fighting art is the same as the perfect auxiliary fighting art used by this person just now. Looks like I'm right. He is Qin Feiyang. The middle-aged woman shouted. Although they had never seen Qin Feiyang before, all the super forces had investigated Qin Feiyang very clearly. Therefore, they knew all the fighting arts that Qin Feiyang used in the 9 areas. Haha, you can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. I didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be hiding in the internal sea. Wu Kai laughed in surprise and immediately rushed toward Pei Qin. The other 8 people also took action one after another. Both the main tower and the trading pavilion were looking for Qin Feiyang. As long as they could take down Qin Feiyang, they would definitely be rewarded handsomely. All 9 of them had perfect fighting arts and were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they landed in front of Pei Qin. Boom! Their auras exploded, and the 9 of them attacked at the same time. The cultivation of the 9 of them was similar. How terrifying was their joint attack! There was no suspense. The red sword soul and the flaming beast shadow shattered on the spot and turned into nothingness. The inner demons also spat out a mouthful of blood, but the ruthlessness on their faces intensified. Pei Qin heaved a sigh of relief and took a healing pill. He looked at the inner demons and grinned. Qin Feiyang, you finally showed up. And then, the inner demons joked. Haha, you dare to be so arrogant in front of so many of us? Do you really think you're invincible? Pei Qin laughed, his old eyes filled with mockery. Yes, I am Qin Feiyang, the inner demons said. Hearing the inner demons admit it personally, the 10 of them were even more delighted. The inner demons glanced at the 10 people with a mocking expression. However, since I dared to take the initiative to reveal my battle soul and use my battle art, I'm naturally not afraid of being seen through by you. The smiles on their faces froze. Do you know why? If you don't know, I'll tell you. That's because I never planned to let you all leave alive from the very beginning. The inner demons grinned. Haha, the 10 of them burst into laughter. Did you hear that? He said he was going to kill all of us? Laughable, truly laughable. Haha, Pei Qin laughed the loudest and most joyfully. Suddenly, the middle-aged woman frowned. That's not right. If he is Qin Feiyang, then who is Ancestor Mu? I don't care who he is. Anyone who dares to kill the people of the exchange pavilion must die. A skinny middle-aged man stepped out. His aura was surging and his eyes were sharp. This man was the representative of the exchange pavilion. His name was Tanjing. He had the cultivation of a 6-star combat emperor. The inner demons was slightly taken aback and asked suspiciously, when did I kill the people of the exchange pavilion? Didn't you kill Li He? Tan Jing's eyes were hazy. So it's him. The inner demon suddenly understood and didn't say anything else. Wu Kai also landed beside Tan Jing and said coldly, "Yes, let's attack together. We can't let him escape again." He was also a 6-star combat emperor. Among the 10 people, Wu Kai and Tan Jing were the strongest. The remaining 8 people, including Pei Qin, had a total of 5 5-star combat emperors. The remaining 3 people were all 4-star combat emperors. 3 4-star combat emperors, 5 5-star combat emperors, and 2 6-star combat emperors. Such a lineup could be said to be quite terrifying. However, the inner demons didn't show any fear. Instead, he had a look of disdain and said, "Let's not talk nonsense. Let's attack together. Even if you don't say it, we will attack together."
Attack!
Tan Jing shouted. The 10 people released their auras and turned into rays of flowing light. They rushed toward Qin Feiyang with murderous intent. This is more interesting. The inner demons was excited. The blood in his body was boiling. Boom. He activated the battle character art. The combination of battle intent and killing intent made him look like he was possessed by a demon god. Swoosh. He directly went up to meet them head-on and began to fight madly with the 10 of them. For a moment, the place was filled with battle blood and battle intent. The sky was dark and the earth was dark. Their loud bangs intertwined and shook the heavens. The terrifying shockwaves from the battle swept in all directions. The sea within a radius of a few hundred miles was set off monstrous waves. What happened on the island? Brother Mu didn't really fight with the people from the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion, did he? Above the sea, young Master Hao and Tan Jing were retreating frantically while scanning the island in surprise. They were too far away to see the situation on the island. However, the overwhelming shockwaves from the battle made them feel fear and despair. He dares to fight with those people. How strong is he? On the other side of the sea, Wang Zicheng was also surprised. After separating from Wang Yu, and Tan Jing, he went around to the other side of the island. He wanted to sneak in and check the situation. However, before he could enter the island, the battle on the island broke out. He had to stop. The battle ripples that were pouncing towards him caused him to be extremely terrified. In the center of the island, the inner demons used the phantom steps. He was like a human-shaped beast, fighting with blood. There was his own blood, as well as the blood of Wu Kai and the others. When they saw Qin Feiyang's purple gold dragon blood for the first time, Wu Kai and the others were really shocked. How could it be purple gold blood? And it also carried a vast dragon power? Was he the reincarnation of a divine dragon? As the battle became longer and longer, as the situation became more and more tragic, they found another incredible thing. Facing the 10 great war emperors, even if Qin Feiyang could deal with them, he would definitely suffer a lot. But the problem was here. No matter how they attacked, no matter how much blood Qin Feiyang lost, he was still full of energy. The battle intent he revealed was also getting more and more terrifying. Moreover, his injuries recovered very quickly. It was as if he had eaten a divine elixir. Over time, Wu Kai's group of 10 couldn't help but have an illusion. This person couldn't be an unkillable war god, right? Blood was splattering everywhere. The broken ground had been dyed red, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood. Boom! Suddenly, the inner demons raised his bloody arm. Golden light burst out, and he threw out 10 palms in a row. The 10 of them were immediately sent flying. I'm not in the mood to play around with you guys. Show me your true abilities. The inner demon stuck out his tongue and licked the blood at the corner of his mouth. His body shook violently, and the red sword chi in his body poured out. Clang! Above his head, 50 flaming sword shadows immediately appeared. Waves of fire surged and illuminated the surroundings. Guiyuan sword technique. The number of Guiyuan sword technique was determined by one's cultivation. Now, after the increase in strength of the kill character art, his cultivation had stepped into the War Emperor realm. The inner demons could already condense 50 sword shadows. Each sword shadow contained the peak power of a perfect battle art. This is his other killing battle art. Everyone, don't let your guard down. Wu Kai's pupils constricted. After a loud shout, He also began to evolve his battle art. A Chelan appeared. It was dozens of feet tall and was extremely ferocious. Clang, roar, boom. Tanjing and Pei Qin's group of 9 also quickly evolved their strongest killing battle arts. There was a sharp blade that could destroy the world. There was a beast totem as large as a mountain. There was also a tornado storm that tore apart the heavens and earth. Kill. Everyone roared at the same time. The 10 killing battle arts carried a monstrous force as they blasted toward Jian Ying, a group of ants trying to shake a towering tree. How adorably stupid. The inner demons laughed disdainfully. He pressed his hand down and the 50 sword shadows furiously slashed forward. It was as if a divine weapon had appeared and was unstoppable. Crack. Boom. Wu Kai's 10 battle arts were shattered one after another. Blood dripped from the corners of their mouths. However, in this collision, the inner demons suffered more serious injuries than Wu Kai's group of 10. It wasn't just 1 or 2 times. It could be described as a devastating injury. Although Jianing had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers, the 10 opponents' cultivation was still stronger than his. Wu Kai and Tanjing were even 6-star combat emperors. To be able to shatter the battle arts of 10 people was already considered to have exceeded the inner demon's limit. If it was any other 3-star combat emperor, they would have been killed in an instant. Boom. The inner demons was like a meteorite. He fell to the ground below and was buried in dust. His body was filled with cracks and blood flowed out like a fountain. In the inner world, looking at his shattered body, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown and said, "Inner demons, you're too careless. If it wasn't for the flame of life and the battle secret art, I'm afraid we would all be dead by now." "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing," the inner demons replied impatiently. He dared to risk his life because he knew that this body was immortal. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, "All right, I don't care anymore. You can play with them slowly. Just don't let them escape." Heh, if they want to escape, they'll have to be immortals. The inner demons grinned and took out a healing pill with 6 pill veins. He threw it into his mouth. Boundless energy immediately rushed to his limbs and bones. In addition, after fusing with the water of life, he had a very frightening recovery speed. His shattered body was quickly healed. At the same time, in the void outside, Wu Kai and the others stood side by side, looking down at the place where Qin Feiyang fell. Their eyes were bone-chilling. They all looked quite wretched. Their hair was disheveled and their faces were stained with blood. Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't appear for a long time, the middle-aged woman said, "He should be dead now, right?" Pei Qin snorted coldly and said, "If he doesn't die like this, then it's too unreasonable." Heard about it. The few of them heaved a sigh of relief, as if relieved of a heavy burden. Wu Kai sighed and said, "Speaking of which, this little bastard is really difficult to deal with." Tanjing also sighed and nodded. Yes, it took the combined strength of the 10 of us to take him down. If it was one-on-one, I'm afraid none of us would be his match. I just can't figure out how he can be so ridiculously strong. He doesn't look old. The middle-aged woman was puzzled. He might be one of those unparalleled geniuses that only appear once in 10,000 years. Unfortunately, he chose a path of no return. Wu Kai sneered. "Don't worry about that. Let's go find his corpse. If there's no corpse, we won't be able to get the Chief Tower Master's reward." Pei Qin said with a smile, "Haha, that's right. Let's go down." Chapter 1046. Just as the 10 of them landed on the ground, a destructive aura suddenly rushed out from the ground. It was an invisible force that contained the power to destroy the world. This change was beyond the expectations of Pei Qin and the others. Without any time to prepare, they were engulfed by the invisible force. Ah! Shrill screams resounded through the night sky. The 3 4-star combat emperors were killed on the spot, and their bodies were smashed into pieces. Pei Qin and the other 4 5-star combat emperors were also fatally injured. Their bodies were badly mutilated, and their limbs were broken. They were basically crippled. Only Wu Kai and Tanjing were slightly better off. They were 6-star combat emperors, and their physical bodies were stronger than the others. Even so, they were still severely injured. "He's not dead? How is this possible?" Although they had survived, their blood-stained faces were filled with disbelief. It should be known that Qin Fei Yang was killed by their perfect battle art. Not to mention a mere 3-star combat emperor. Even a 6-star combat emperor wouldn't be able to survive. Is this guy really unkillable? Don't panic. Even if he's not dead, he must be severely injured, Tanjing said in a low voice. Wu Kai nodded and said, "That's right. As long as we work together, killing him will be as easy as slaughtering a dog." Haha, you two are really naive and ridiculous. Accompanied by an arrogant laugh, the inner demons rushed out from the ground. He stood in the sky and looked down at Pei Qin and the others. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind and his blood-red eyes were sharp. He was full of energy and there was no trace of weakness. Wu Kai and Tanjing were dumbfounded. He still looked so lively. Is this guy really the reincarnation of a monster? The inner demons glanced at the 7 of them and laughed. You want to take my corpse for your reward? All right, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. My head is right here. Whoever has the ability can come and take it. Domineering. The 7 of them were shocked. They were considered old monsters who had been in the world for thousands of years. However, it was their first time seeing such a domineering young man. They could not help but feel a sense of fear in their hearts. Why aren't you moving? Are you that brave? Since you're not coming, I'll take the initiative to look for you. The inner demon's eyes flashed with a cold light. He placed his hands in front of his chest and formed a seal. A destructive wave suddenly rolled out from his hands. What is he doing? Pei Qin was bewildered. That fluctuation made him shudder involuntarily, as if something big was about to happen. Don't worry about it. Do your best to kill him. Tanjing roared. Clang. A war blade rushed into the sky. It was several hundred meters long, and it was completely black. It emitted a shocking might. This was his fighting soul. Roar. Chirp. Wu Kai, Pei Qin, and the other 5 also summoned their fighting souls. As the famous combat emperors from the various super forces, their fighting souls were considered top-notch fighting souls. For a moment, the void here was twisting crazily as if it was about to collapse. The island was also trembling violently. The waves on the surface of the sea were surging as if the end of the world had arrived. Kill. The 7 of them roared furiously. The battle spirit roared in the sky. Innate ability, destruction in all directions. The terrifying power made people tremble. However, looking at the 7 roaring battle spirits, the inner demon's eyes were filled with disdain. Come out, divine dragon seal, he said coldly as a purple-gold square seal appeared between his hands. Clang. Boom. A mighty dragon aura erupted in an instant, shrouding the entire sea region in an overwhelming manner. At this moment, within a radius of a few hundred miles, regardless of whether the sea beasts on the surface of the sea or under the sea, regardless of whether they were sacred beasts or emperor beasts, all of them prostrated themselves, their faces filled with horror. They actually knelt down. Could it be that a divine dragon has really appeared on the island? Wang Ziqing, Wang Yu, and young Master Hao looked at the sea beast's reactions and were extremely shocked. Despair, all of you. The inner demons looked down at the 7 of them condescendingly. His entire body emitted a great majesty, as if he was a god that had descended to the mortal world. Clang. The divine dragon seal broke through the air and transformed into a huge divine seal. It was as bright as a mountain. Roar, Kacha. Following a series of painful howls and deafening explosions, the battle spirits of Pei Qin and the others were shattered one after another. They were simply like dead wood, unable to withstand a single blow. Puff! The 7 of them spurted out blood. They panicked and were afraid. They turned around and fled for their lives. For experts of their level, fleeing was a great humiliation. However, at this moment, they really did not have the courage to fight. Too powerful. A 3-star combat emperor was suppressing them. How heaven-defying was this kind of combat strength? However, the divine dragon seal was a divine skill and its power was unpredictable. Even if they were given wings, they would not be able to escape. Boom. The divine seal cut through the air and suppressed the 7 of them. The divine aura descended, and the 7 of them trembled both physically and mentally. They did not dare to escape anymore. They turned around and knelt in the air. Their faces were filled with panic as they begged, "Young Master Qin, please spare our lives." The inner demon's lips curled up as he walked towards the 7 of them. Seeing the inner demons getting closer and closer, the 7 of them became even more frightened and trembled. Finally, the inner demons landed in front of the 7 of them and said playfully, "Didn't you guys want to take me to receive a reward? We were just joking." "Yes, yes, yes. You're so powerful. How would we dare to touch you?" The 7 of them waved their hands and their old faces were filled with flattery and flattery. "So you combat emperors are nothing more than this. You're all a bunch of cowards. Boring." The inner demons shook his head in disappointment. "Yes, yes, yes. We're cowards, we're trash. You'll dirty your hands by killing us. Why don't you let us go? We promise that we won't cause trouble for you in the future." The 7 of them hurriedly said. In the face of death, self-esteem and face were nothing. So boring. The inner demons waved his hand, and the divine dragon seal fell like lightning. Other than Pei Qin, the other 6 of them died on the spot. Pei Qin was scared silly and even peed his pants. The inner demon said, "Do you know why I didn't kill you?" "I don't know." Pei Qin shook his head. The inner demon's eyes flashed and said, "According to my investigation, Li He and Shan Feiyun were killed by your divine python tribe." "This? How do you know?" Pei Qin looked at him in shock. "That's true." The inner demons muttered and laughed. "How about this? Let's make a deal. As long as you tell me what I want to know, I'll let you live." "What do you want to know?" Pei Qin was surprised. The inner demon said, "I want to know, what kind of information does Fu Anshan have on your leader?" "You." The inner demons was extremely shocked. "Wasn't the reason why your divine python tribe attacked Shen Feiyun and Li He at Fu Anshan's behest? I'm just wondering, why would a dignified super tribe listen to him?" The inner demons laughed playfully. "Don't say any more. I won't tell you anything." Pei Qin roared and slapped his own forehead with his palm. Crack. Immediately, his head cracked and blood gushed out. Then, he stared at the inner demons with resentment and fell down powerlessly. The sudden change caught the inner demons off guard. He stared blankly at Pei Qin. He never thought that this person would be so loyal, refusing to say anything even if he died. When he came back to his senses, he quickly swooped down and grabbed Pei Qin. He reached out to feel his pulse and found that Pei Qin was already dead. "What is the secret that you want to keep even if you die?" The inner demons muttered, feeling rather annoyed. Boom. However, at this moment, a terrifying killing intent emerged. Immediately after, a dazzling battle chi poured down from the 9 heavens like the curtain of the Milky Way. "There's still someone else?" The inner demon suddenly raised his head, killing intent surging in his eyes. Then, his index finger pointed in the air, and an invisible force emerged, turning into a shocking wave and colliding with the battle chi. With a loud bang, the battle chi instantly disintegrated, and the invisible force continued to roar towards the sky. The battle chi dissipated, and the inner demons finally saw the people standing in the sky. There were 4 young men and women. All of them were as handsome as jade, with extraordinary temperament, and all of them were wearing white robes and long skirts. They stood in the clouds, looking down at the inner demons, without any expression on their faces. But between their eyebrows, there was a pride that could not be ignored. "How dare you sneak attack me? You're courting death." The inner demon smiled ferociously, leaped up, and rushed towards the clouds. However, the 4 people just looked at him coldly. "Let's go." Suddenly, a young man in white spoke, with a cold and emotionless tone. A woman in white next to him nodded, waved her jade-like hand, and an ancient stone door emerged. Clang! With the emergence of a holy aura, the stone door quickly opened. The gate of time and space. The inner demon stopped and looked at the stone door in surprise. But it was not the real gate of time and space, but an imitation. However, the imitation gate of time and space was not in the hands of Mu Qing. "I see." Suddenly, the inner demon showed a look of understanding, then looked at the 4 people and said jokingly, "You should be the few people that Mu Qing mentioned." If I remember correctly, Mu Qing told me that you would come to find trouble with me. Why did you leave without even saying goodbye? The four people still did not say a word, but if one looked carefully, one would find that their hands were clenched tightly. I heard Mu Qing talking so seriously. I thought that you were some powerful people, but it turns out that you're just a few cowardly rats. The inner demons shook his head and laughed, full of contempt. I can't take it anymore. The young man in white who spoke first said, with cold light surging in his eyes. Ignore him. The woman in white who opened the gate of time and space said lightly, then led the three people into the gate of time and space without looking back. Rats. The inner demons smiled disdainfully, then looked around. The enemies were either dead or running away, and now they did not know what to do. It's so lonely to be invincible. I'd better go to my inner world. After a while, he shook his head and sighed, and was about to enter his inner world. But at this moment, the inner demon's eyes had a touch of surprise, and he turned to look at the other side of the island. He suddenly sensed a familiar aura sneaking into the island. Hee, I was worried that I couldn't find a chance to capture you, but I didn't expect you to send yourself to me, then I won't be polite. Chapter 1047. At the same time, on the shore of the island, a young man wearing only underpants sneaked into the island. It was none other than Wang Ziqing. He stood on a small hillside, looking at the center of the island. The fluctuations have stopped. The battle is really over, but I don't know who won. But no matter who won, I have to be careful. He muttered a few words in a low voice and lurked in the direction of the volcano. Along the way, he was particularly careful, afraid of making the slightest noise. He also thought that no one knew that he had sneaked into the island. However, he did not know that soon after entering the island, someone was secretly watching him. After a while, Wang Ziqing came near the volcano, hid behind a rock, and looked in front. Damn, it's so tragic. When he saw the broken ground near the volcano, his pupils couldn't help but shrink, and on the ground, there were bits and pieces of bones and flesh everywhere. The smell of blood was pungent, as if it was a sure hell. There are so many bones. It should be those 10 people. Where's Ancestor Mu's brother? Why don't I see him? Forget it. Let's go and see the alchemy fire first. Wang Ziqing walked out from behind the rock, looked around for a while, and ran toward the crater of the volcano. The volcano had disappeared, but the magma continued to erupt. He stood at the edge of the crater, looked down, carefully sensed for a while, and finally breathed a sigh of relief, muttering, "Fortunately, the alchemy fire is still there." "What are you looking at?" Suddenly, a suspicious voice came from behind him. Wang Ziqing's body stiffened, slowly turned around, and saw the inner demon's Qin Fei Yang standing behind him. "Brother Mu, where did you go just now? I couldn't find you for a long time. I was worried sick," he asked with a concerned look, but his expression was very unnatural. "Is that so? Then why are you sneaking around like a thief?" The inner demons teased. "Oh no, did he find out long ago?" Wang Ziqing's body and mind tightened, and he smiled awkwardly. "I'm afraid of those 10 people." The inner demons mocked. "They've already been killed. Their bones are all here." Wang Ziqing glanced at the skeletons on the ground and said in admiration, "Big Brother Mu is truly unparalleled. This little brother admires you." The inner demons chuckled. "You flatter me. Actually, I admire you. You're the first one who dares to play tricks in front of me." "Me? Playing tricks?" Wang Ziqing panicked and quickly waved his hand. No, Big Brother Mu, what are you talking about? How could I dare to play tricks in front of you? Do you know? Often, people who think they are very smart are actually stupid idiots. You are such a person." The inner demon's eyes turned cold. They pressed Wang Ziqing to the ground and said, "Brat, you're lucky. If it weren't for your talent and potential, you would have turned into a pile of bones." After saying that, he stepped on Wang Ziqing's back, immobilizing him. Then, he formed a seal with both hands, and an enslavement seal quickly appeared and entered the top of Wang Ziqing's head. "Ah!" Wang Ziqing howled miserably and said in shock and anger, "Big Brother Mu, what did you do to me? I wonder if you've heard of the enslavement seal? Right now, Your little life is already in my hands. If you dare to be presumptuous, I will kill you. But don't be depressed, because you're not the first. Viper, Dan Wongkai, and Black Monkey have all become my slaves. The inner demons lifted his foot and released Wang Ziqing. Wang Ziqing immediately got up and looked at the inner demons in shock. You don't believe me? The inner demons said. I'd be a ghost if I believed you. Wang Ziqing cursed and turned to run. Naive. The inner demons shook his head and sneered. With a thought, Wang Ziqing immediately staggered and fell to the ground. He held his head and screamed. It hurts. This is true. I, Wang Ziqing, have actually become another's slave. I don't want to. Wang Ziqing muttered to himself. His face was full of disbelief. Finally, he roared and took out the holy dagger and rushed toward the inner demons. You've got some backbone, but you're still far from it. The inner demon sneered and kicked Wang Ziqing's lower abdomen. With a cry, Wang Ziqing was sent flying and fell to the ground heavily, biting a mouthful of mud. I'll never be another's slave. Kill me. He ignored the pain and looked up at the inner demons with a ferocious expression. Not bad, not bad. You've got more backbone than Viper and the others. But the more you act like this, the more I like you. You don't want to submit? It's okay. I won't force you. You can stay by my side for now. Sooner or later, I'll make you submit of your own accord. The inner demon smiled confidently. Dream on. Wang Ziqing roared. Then we'll see. Now I'll give you a mission. Go and tell Wang Yu and young master how to return to the island where we met before. My brother Mu ancestor will go and find them soon. The inner demon said. Why should I go just because you ask me to? Wang Ziqing raised his eyebrows. You have to think clearly. If I kill you now, I won't lose anything, but you'll lose your life for nothing. On the contrary, if you listen to me and live well, maybe you'll find a chance to turn things around in the future. The inner demon smiled. Wang Ziqing's expression was uncertain. A moment later, he glared at the inner demons fiercely, then got up and flew in the direction of Wang Yu, and young Master Hao. The inner demons immediately took out the image crystal. Buzz. Soon, the shadow of the Viper appeared. Looking at Qin Feiyang at this moment, Viper's pupils contracted and he said in surprise, You can't be. The inner demons coldly said, Yes, I'm the inner demons, and now I'm in control of this body. Viper's eyes trembled, and he hurriedly knelt in the void and respectfully said, Master, what orders do you have? The inner demons said, I'm now at the birthplace of the pill fire. You immediately deceive the big bull and the others. Good. I'll do it right away. Viper nodded, and then the shadow dissipated. At the same time, in a certain mountain, there's a behemoth. This is the Mujia. In the conference hall, the Mujia's patriarch sat on the main seat, and the Mujia's great ancestor and second ancestor sat on both sides of the table. Behind the Mujia's patriarch, there's a young man in purple standing. It's Mu Qing. Opposite them, there are 4 young men and women standing respectfully. It's the 4 people who attacked the inner demons before, but the result was that they fled without a fight. At this moment, the woman in white who opened the gate of time and space was holding an image crystal in her hand. The image crystal exuded a hazy light, and a picture flashed in the void above. The picture showed the scene of the inner demons and Pei Qin's 10 people fighting. The Mujia's patriarch, great ancestor, second ancestor, and Mu Qing all stared at the picture, and their expressions were extremely heavy. Soon, the picture disappeared. The woman in white put away the image crystal and looked at the Mujia's patriarch. The patriarchs didn't speak, and the atmosphere was very dignified. No one knows how long has passed. The Mujia's patriarch looked up at the 4 people and frowned. What happened? How did he suddenly become so strong? We don't know. When he came, he was already like this. The woman in white shook her head. The Mujia's patriarch raised his eyebrows, turned to look at the great ancestor and second ancestor, and said, 2 ancestors, do you think he's Qin Feiyang? The great ancestor said, from what he said at the end, we can basically conclude that he's Qin Feiyang. Then what the hell is going on? Before going to Qinghai, he was still a battle saint. How long has it been since then? How did he become a 3-star combat emperor? Isn't this too outrageous? The Mujia's patriarch frowned. The great ancestor and second ancestor also couldn't figure it out. The second ancestor suddenly looked at Mu Qing and asked, you're more familiar with Qin Feiyang than us. Do you know what's going on? I'm basically clear about his methods, but this time I really don't understand. Mu Qing rubbed her head and looked a little irritated. The great ancestor sighed. It seems that this child still has a lot of unknown methods, and the threat to us is getting bigger and bigger. The Mujia's patriarch nodded. Yes, he's almost out of our control. Father, what you said is wrong. When did we really control him? Mu Qing rolled her eyes. The Mujia's patriarch was stunned, and then he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Yes. From the beginning to the end, they've never really controlled Qin Feiyang. They've always been in a relationship of mutual cooperation and mutual use. In short, we can't let him grow anymore. Otherwise, in the future, our Mujia will definitely fall into his hands. The great ancestor was worried. His old eyes flashed with a sharp light. Mu Qing was surprised. Great ancestor, do you mean to make a move on him now? Aren't you asking the obvious? Definitely not now. However, once we enter the miracle and achieve our goal, we'll eliminate him as soon as possible. In short, we can't let him come back alive. The great ancestor said. The Mujia's patriarch and the second ancestor nodded in agreement. In addition, we must find out the reason why his cultivation soared. Qing, I'll leave this matter to you. The great ancestor looked at Mu Qing and said, Okay. Mu Qing nodded. Then that's it. After the great ancestor finished speaking, he got up and left with the second ancestor. The Mujia's patriarch also got up and looked at the four people in white. The miracle is about to open. You four are the pillars of our Mujia. You must hurry up and cultivate. Yes. The four people respectfully responded. The Mujia's patriarch said a few more words to Mu Qing and left the great council hall. Sigh. What a pain in the ass. Originally, I wanted to let you guys suffer a little, but I didn't expect that the result would be you guys running away in a panic. How can I face him in the future? Mu Qing looked at the four people in white with anger. Young lord, we don't like to hear this. That's right, you don't even look at his current cultivation. How can we deal with him? If you have the ability, then go ahead. The four people looked at Mu Qing with dissatisfaction. But more than that, they felt humiliated. As the patriarch said, they're the kings of the younger generation of the Mujia. They have inviolable majesty. It's the first time they've run away without a fight. Chapter 1048. On the volcanic island. The inner demons stood beside the volcano. Their bloody hair danced in the wind, and their hostility soared into the sky. Whoosh! A moment later, Wang Ziqing returned and landed in front of the inner demons. They've already left. The inner demons nodded and stared at the void in front of them. No one knew what they were thinking. Wang Ziqing frowned and said, Then I'll leave first? With this demon around, there was definitely no hope for the alchemy fire, so it was better to leave as soon as possible. Leave? Where are you going? Didn't I tell you? You have to stay by my side and never leave me. The inner demon said. Wang Ziqing's face darkened, and he said angrily, Do you really think I'm your follower? The inner demon shook his finger and said playfully, You're wrong. You're not a follower. You're a servant. Don't go too far. Wang Ziqing was furious. I have the strength. So what if I bully you? If you have the ability, come and defeat me. The inner demons looked at Wang Ziqing contemptuously, as if they were going to eat him up. Wang Ziqing clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. If you don't have the ability, then shut up. The inner demons glanced at Wang Ziqing coldly, then retracted his aura and sat cross-legged on the ground, waiting for the big bull and the others to arrive. Wang Ziqing looked at the inner demons gloomily for a moment and asked, Who are you and your brother? Ancestor Mu? Ordinary people. The inner demons said indifferently. Wang Ziqing's veins bulged. Ordinary people were more abnormal than the other? It was obvious that they were teasing him. I'll endure it. He took a deep breath and asked again, Then where is your brother now? I don't know. The inner demons said. You don't know? You don't know. You asked me to tell young master Hao and Wang Yuer that Ancestor Mu will look for them later? Aren't you playing with me? Wang Ziqing was about to explode. The inner demon said disdainfully, "Aren't you very smart? Can't you tell that I'm deliberately sending them away?" Deliberately? Wang Ziqing raised his eyebrows. The inner demon smirked and mocked, "Brother Wang, take a closer look and see who I am." Wang Ziqing looked at the inner demon suspiciously, feeling a little confused. No. Suddenly, his gaze trembled. This person called him Brother Wang? Could it be? A terrifying thought crept into Wang Ziqing's mind. Could it be that you are Ancestor Mu? He asked in surprise. Correct. The inner demons nodded. Wang Ziqing shook his head and said, "That's impossible. Ancestor Mu is clearly just a battle saint. But you?" The inner demon said, "Don't I look like one?" Wang Ziqing nodded and said, "Yes, but the difference in your cultivation is too great. Don't joke around. How could you be Ancestor Mu?" The inner demon chuckled and closed her eyes. She didn't say anything else. Wang Ziqing also fell silent. He carefully sized up the inner demons. Time slowly passed. Whoosh! After an unknown amount of time, two air-piercing sounds could be heard. Dan Wangkai and the black monkey flew through the air and landed in front of the inner demons. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." Master? Wang Ziqing was stunned. He originally thought that the inner demons was just joking. He didn't expect to be captured. Looking at Wang Ziqing, Dan Wangkai, and the black monkey felt ashamed. The inner demons opened his eyes and glanced at the two of them. He asked suspiciously, "Why are you here?" "Not long ago, we received a message from Viper. He said that you were doing something here, so we rushed over to see if we could help." The black monkey winked and smiled flatteringly. The inner demons chuckled and said, "You're quite sensible. I'll reward you with a potential pill later." "Thank you, Master." The two of them were overjoyed. Wait, what action? What potential pill? Can someone explain it to me? Wang Ziqing hurriedly asked. The black monkey and the black monkey glanced at Wang Ziqing, then looked at the inner demons with a questioning gaze. They were obviously asking if they should tell Wang Ziqing. The inner demons didn't say anything and closed his eyes again. The two of them didn't dare to say anything and stood respectfully on both sides of the inner demons. What's going on? Wang Ziqing looked at the three of them anxiously but didn't answer him. Whoosh! Soon after, Viper also came and said respectfully, "Master, I've already informed Barbarian Bull and the others. I believe they'll be here soon." The inner demons didn't open his eyes. He nodded and said, "You did well. I'll reward you with a potential pill later." "Thank you, Master." Without a doubt, Viper was also overjoyed. Seeing Viper's expression, Wang Ziqing was even more surprised. What was a potential pill? Why were the three of them so excited? He glanced at the inner demons, then turned his eyes to Viper and secretly transmitted his voice, "Old Viper, we're on good terms, right?" Viper was stunned for a moment, then said indifferently, "Don't try to get close to me. I'm not familiar with you." Wang Ziqing's face stiffened, and he was furious in his heart. He secretly laughed and said, "Don't be like this. At most I'll return Viper number 1 to you. Just tell me, what exactly is a potential pill?" "No need." Viper turned his head and looked elsewhere, appearing incomparably cold. "Fuck. You don't even want Viper number 1? Wang Ziqing was completely shocked. One must know that Viper number 1 was a sacred artifact, but for the potential pill, Viper didn't even care about sacred artifacts. Could it be that this potential pill was a divine item? Torment. Right now, every minute and every second was torment for Wang Ziqing. Boom. Suddenly, the speed of the eruption of magma from the volcano behind them suddenly increased. Next, an aura comparable to a war saint roared out from the volcano. The inner demons immediately stood up and released his battle chi, forming a battle chi barrier to block the surging magma. Then, he turned around and looked at the volcano. At the same time, Wang Ziqing, Viper, and the other two also turned around and looked at the volcano in shock. Suddenly, Dan Wangkai said in surprise, "The alchemy fire inside the volcano has taken shape and is about to be born." Heard of it? The inner demon's spirit was lifted. With this cluster of 7th grade alchemy fire and Dan Wangkai's alchemy fire, the nether devil flame could be upgraded to 8th grade. 8th grade alchemy fire, that was an existence comparable to war emperors. Although alchemy fire was usually used for alchemy, sometimes it could also be used for battle. For example, in the future, if they encountered a 9-star war saint like Wang Zicheng, they wouldn't even need to make a move. As long as they revived the nether devil flame, they would be able to kill a large number of them in an instant. Whoosh! It was also at this moment, on the distant sea, figures broke through the air like lightning. There were a total of 6 people, 4 young men and 2 young women. Their auras were unfathomable. This aura, Big Barbarian Bull looked at the island, his rough face full of surprise. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and roared. The alchemy fire is about to be born. Everyone hurry up. The alchemy fire is about to be born. The other 5 people's eyes trembled and immediately used a mysterious footwork, shooting toward the island. They're coming. At the same time, Viper also sensed the aura of Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people. The inner demons raised his head and looked at the 6 people. Light flashed in his eyes, and in the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. Did he go to the castle? Or did he use the invisibility technique? Wang Zicheng and the other 3 people looked at the void in surprise. Not long after, Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people landed on top of the volcano and looked down at Viper and the other 3 people. You're all here so soon? The 6 people were surprised. Dan Wonkai coldly snorted. As the #1 alchemist in Qinghai, how can I let the alchemy fire fall into the hands of trash like you? Of course you have to come early. Yes, when it comes to alchemy, you, Dan Wonkai, have the most right to speak, but it won't be easy for you to get this alchemy fire. One of the young men sneered. This person was about 1.8 meters tall. He was neither fat nor thin, but his face was as pale as paper. His dark eyes were filled with a trace of gloominess. Dan Wonkai raised his eyebrows and looked at the young man. Deadface, you're not an alchemist. What do you want the alchemy fire for? Isn't this a waste of God's gift? I'm happy to. The man called Deadface sneered. Swish. Then, Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people landed beside Wang Zicheng and the other 3 people and stared at the volcano. Cut the crap. The alchemy fire is about to be born. Let's use our own methods. One of the women said. She was wearing a black suit that outlined her graceful figure. Her hair was tied together, making her look valiant and formidable. There were 2 daggers on her waist. Although they were hidden in the scabbards, they couldn't hide their sharp edge. Big Barbarian Bull said, Okay, let's do as the Ghost Queen said. We'll use our own methods. Hearing that, Viper, Dan Wonkai, and the Black Monkey looked at the 6 people, then looked at each other with a trace of ridicule in their eyes. With the inner demons Qin Feiyong here, who could snatch this cluster of alchemy fire? Right, Viper? Big Barbarian Bull looked at Viper and asked, Didn't you say that Ancestor Mu is here? Why don't I see him? The other 5 people were also puzzled. Hee, finally, everyone is here. A sinister laugh spread out. The inner demons appeared out of thin air, but at this moment, the inner demons hid their cultivation. It's really you. Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people's pupils shrank. They immediately spread out and surrounded the inner demons. The inner demons didn't move at all. They just looked at them playfully. The woman called Ghost Queen said, Viper, don't forget our agreement. When we take him down, give each of us a bottle of sacred water. Sure, as long as you have the ability. Viper snickered. At the same time, Dan Wonkai and the Black Monkey's faces were also full of ridicule. Wang Zicheng looked at the expressions of Viper and the other 2, then looked at Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5, and finally looked at the inner demons Qin Feiyong. His brows were tightly knitted together. Suddenly, his gaze trembled as he quickly looked at Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 and shouted, This is a scam. Run. Scam? The 6 people were stunned. The inner demons turned to look at Wang Zicheng and grinned. It seems that you've already guessed it. Unfortunately, it's too late. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying emperor's aura appeared and instantly enveloped the entire place. Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 were immediately imprisoned in the void. However, their faces were filled with disbelief. How could it be Emperor's aura? Wasn't he a battle saint? And why were the expressions of Viper and the other two so strange? What the hell is going on? Sigh. Wang Ziqing sighed deeply. Although everyone had opened the gate of potential, they had only opened the first level. They could barely break the pressure of a 1-star battle saint, but it was impossible for a 3-star battle saint. Too late. Chapter 1049. The 6 of them were still living in a dream. Whoosh. The inner demons formed a seal with both hands, and 6 enslavement seals appeared one after another, quickly controlling the 6 of them. Dan Wonkai smiled and said, "Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to all of you for joining Master's forces." Master? The 6 of them looked at each other. That's called an enslavement seal. It can control everyone's soul. In other words, your lives are now in the Master's hands. Remember, don't have any thoughts of disobedience. Master only needs a single thought to erase your souls. I believe I don't need to tell you what it means to have your soul erased. Dan Wonkai, the Viper, and the Black Monkey wore smiles on their faces. The 10 heroes of Qinghai were all captured, and now they felt much better. However, Big Barbarian Bull's group of 6 turned pale with fright. There was actually such a thing. They finally understood what Wang Ziqing meant by a scam. The Phantom Queen glanced at Dan Wonkai and the other 2 and said angrily, "Not only are you captured, but you also dragged us into the water. You are simply bastards." Viper smiled and said, "Don't worry. Although you hate us now, you will thank us later." Thank us? The 6 of them sneered as if they had heard the biggest joke in the world, and their eyes were gloomy to the extreme. "You don't believe me? Then let's wait and see," Viper said. The inner demons glanced at everyone and said with a smile, "Okay, introduce yourselves." The 10 monsters of Qinghai were finally all under his command, and he was in a very good mood now. Humph. The 6 of them snorted coldly and remained silent. "Are you all mute?" The inner demon's eyes turned cold, and with a thought, the 6 of them immediately held their heads and howled. The big bull said angrily, "We are so familiar with each other. Do we still need to introduce ourselves?" The inner demons stopped operating the enslavement seal and looked at the big bull. "You don't need to, but what about you?" He looked at the Phantom Queen and the other 4. Deadface took a step forward and said, "My name is Deadface. That's what everyone calls me." The inner demons glanced at the pale face of the dead man and nodded. "It does look like a dead man's face." Deadface clenched his hands, held back the anger in his heart, and retreated to the side. The Ghost Empress stepped forward and said, "My name is the Ghost Empress." The inner demons scrutinized the Spectre Queen. This woman's attire fully accentuated her alluring figure, and her skin was as soft and smooth as mutton fat. The most attractive thing about her was her eyes, which were sparkling and translucent like gemstones. It was no exaggeration to say that this woman's beauty was comparable to Wang Yuer's. The inner demons licked his lips and chuckled. "You're my type. Are you interested in being my woman?" Scram. The Spirit Queen's face darkened. The inner demons shook his head in disappointment. "She does look good, but her personality is too fiery. She's not suitable for me." Next, another woman stepped forward. There were only 2 women among the 10 elites of the Qinghai Sea. The first one was the Ghost Empress, and the second one was her. This woman was wearing a snow-white dress. Her figure was exquisite, her long hair fluttered, and her facial features were exquisite. In terms of beauty, she was not inferior to the Ghost Empress, but her face was as cold as frost, like a piece of ice. Ice Empress. After saying that, the woman stepped aside and fell silent. Like her name, she gave people a sense of coldness that kept people thousands of miles away. The inner demons looked at the remaining 3 young men. These 3 people were about 1.78 meters tall. Their facial features were as sharp as knives, and they were full of resoluteness and sharpness. They all had long fiery red hair, and if one looked carefully, they would find that they were similar in size and age, and even their expressions and appearances were very similar. The inner demons asked, "Are you brothers?" "Yes." The 3 of them nodded. "Triplets?" The inner demons asked again. The 3 of them nodded again. The inner demon's face twitched. He had encountered triplets. Wasn't he too lucky? But then again, the three brothers were able to become one of the 10 elites of the Qinghai Sea. Their genes were extraordinarily strong. The inner demons asked, "What are your nicknames?" One of them said, "My name is God 1. My two brothers are God 2 and God 3. That's easy to remember." The inner demons nodded. Then, he looked at Wang Ziqing and said playfully, "Everyone has a nickname. What's yours?" Wang Ziqing's face immediately showed a trace of awkwardness when he heard that. Viper smiled obsequiously and said, "Master, he's a person who only cares about profits. He often backstabs people, so we all call him villain." Wang Ziqing's veins were bulging. He roared, "Are you done, Viper? You've always been this kind of person. Why are you afraid of others talking about you?" Viper sneered. Wang Ziqing gritted his teeth. His eyes were spitting fire. "Ha ha!" The inner demon laughed out loud. Then, he looked at Wang Ziqing and said in all seriousness, "Let me say something fair. This nickname suits you very well." "Get lost!" Wang Ziqing shouted angrily. This nickname, to him, was a big stain in his life. "Enough!" The inner demon's face turned cold. He glanced at the 10 of them and said, "Now that you are all my servants, I don't want to see you fighting openly and secretly. If I find out who is playing tricks behind my back, don't blame me for being ruthless." Looking at the inner demon's blood-red eyes, the 10 of them could not help but tremble. Boom! At this moment, accompanied by a deafening sound, a terrifying aura erupted from the volcano. Following closely, a fiery red stream of light rushed out of the magma. It was a cluster of flames, about the size of a palm. Waves of fire surged, emitting an extremely high temperature. Alchemy fire! Wang Ziqing and the others' eyes lit up. They instinctively glanced at the alchemy fire. The inner demons ignored them and let the 10 of them snatch it. In the end, Dan Wangkai was the first to grab the alchemy fire. He stood in the air, looking down at the alchemy fire, his face full of excitement. "Dan Wangkai, put it down!" the great barbarian bull shouted. Dan Wangkai smiled disdainfully and quickly swooped down. He respectfully handed the alchemy fire to the inner demons. "Very good." The inner demon smiled and nodded. He reached out and grabbed the alchemy fire. He looked up at the great barbarian bull and the others and sneered, "Do you still want it?" The expressions of the great barbarian bull and the others froze. It was only now that they realized that they had no choice. Even if they managed to snatch it, they would have to obediently hand it over. "Don't do it again." A hint of killing intent flashed in the eyes of the inner demons. Everyone suddenly felt as if they had fallen into a sea of killing intent. They could not help but feel chills all over their bodies. Viper hurriedly flew in front of the inner demons and said with a flattering smile, "Master, this is a misunderstanding. I want to snatch it for you." "Yes, yes, yes. How would we dare to take it for ourselves?" The black monkey echoed. Looking at the two's fawning and cowardly appearance, Wang Ziqing and the others could not help but secretly despise them. Clap! Wonderful! Wonderful! Suddenly, there was a burst of applause, followed by hoarse laughter. Everyone was shocked. They turned their heads in unison and looked at a broken mountain not far away, because the applause and laughter came from behind the hill. "Who's playing tricks over there?" the black monkey shouted. Before he finished speaking, an old man walked out. He was wearing a bright red robe. His face was ruddy and his eyes were full of spirit. If one looked closely, one would find that his left sleeve was empty. It was obviously a broken arm. "It's you." The inner demons was surprised. This old man was the one-armed old man they met at the seaside back then. "Old bastard, you've finally shown yourself." But at the same time, Wang Ziqing's angry roar sounded. The inner demons was slightly taken aback. They turned to look at Wang Ziqing suspiciously, only to see Wang Ziqing's face full of anger and killing intent. They looked at Viper and the others, who also had a look of fear. "Do you know him?" the inner demons asked secretly. Viper whispered, "Of course, because he's the one who stole Wang Ziqing's Sage King title." "So it's him." The inner demons murmured. "Old bastard, die." Wang Ziqing was like an angry beast. He took a step forward and threw a punch at the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man's face turned cold. It seems that the lesson from last time hasn't taught you a lesson yet. After saying that, he did not do anything, but a terrifying aura emerged and directly blasted Wang Ziqing away. Wang Ziqing fell to the ground in a sorry state, creating a deep pit. Then, with a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood. So strong. The inner demon's pupils shrank. The aura released by the old man carried a terrifying emperor's aura. Moreover, this emperor's aura was stronger than his. Boom! At the same time, seeing that Wang Ziqing was seriously injured, Viper and the others also released their auras. They stared coldly at the one-armed old man, ready to fight to the death. Don't be impulsive, the inner demon shouted. He looked at the one-armed old man and cupped his fists. May I ask when Senior arrived? This was a very serious problem. If the one-armed old man had arrived earlier, then the battle between him and Pei Qin and the others would have been seen by the old man. Then, his true identity would have been known by the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man pointed at Barbarian Bull's group and said, "When you subdued them, this old man was already here." The inner demons breathed a sigh of relief. When he subdued Barbarian Bull's group, the battle had already ended. Therefore, this old man still did not know that he was Qin Feiyang. The next problem was easy to solve. He just needed to figure out the one-armed old man's purpose in coming here. The inner demons was puzzled. Then what is Senior doing here? Is it also for the alchemic fire? The one-armed old man smiled. The alchemic fire is only secondary. You are this old man's main target. There was a cold glint in his old eyes. The inner demon's heart trembled. It seemed that the old man did not come with good intentions. However, he did not understand. If this old man really wanted to kill him, why didn't he make a move earlier? Most importantly, he had only seen this old man twice, let alone have any grudges. Why was he targeting him? He asked calmly, "Senior, what do you mean by that? Why can't this junior understand?" The one-armed old man said, "Before answering this question, I want to know, are you admiring your ancestors?" Yes. The inner demons hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he nodded truthfully. I really am admiring my ancestors. Wang Ziqing's heart trembled as he looked at the inner demons in shock. Chapter 1050. The one-armed old man's reaction was the same as Wang Ziqing's. He looked at the inner demons in surprise. After a long time, he came back to his senses and asked, "How did you do it?" The inner demons raised his eyebrows and said, "This is Junior's privacy. Isn't it inappropriate for Senior to ask this?" Is it inappropriate? The one-armed old man's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. The Emperor's might was like a waterfall, covering the sky and earth, instantly imprisoning Qin Feiyang, Wang Ziqing, and the other 10 people. Then, the one-armed old man looked at the inner demons and said jokingly, "Then is it appropriate now? Senior, are you looking for trouble?" The inner demons also had a trace of hostility between his brows. He was the inner demons, the embodiment of all evil. It was not easy for him to make such a concession, but this one-armed old man did not know how to restrain himself at all. He was becoming more and more presumptuous and was about to infuriate him. The one-armed old man laughed sinisterly. "No, this old man is not here to find trouble. I am here to kill you under orders." Under orders? The inner demons was surprised and asked, "Under whose orders?" "That's none of your business. Answer this old man. As long as you tell this old man the truth, this old man will give you a quick death." The one-armed old man laughed arrogantly. Heard. The inner demons calmed down and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll tell you. Some time ago, I found a ruin and found a few divine pills inside." "What divine pills?" The one-armed old man hurriedly asked, his eyes full of greed. The inner demons grinned and said, "I don't know what divine pill it is. I only know that when I took a divine pill, my cultivation soared like a rocket." The one-armed old man's eyes trembled and said hurriedly, "What about the rest? Hand it over." The inner demons said with grievance, "You're using the Emperor's might to imprison me. How can I hand it over?" The one-armed old man looked at the inner demons for a while and said in a deep voice, Are you playing with this old man? I'm about to lose my life. How would I dare to play with you? Really, I'm not lying to you. The inner demons said solemnly. You won't be able to do much anyway. The one-armed old man smiled disdainfully and then withdrew his emperor's aura. Just you wait. The inner demon sneered. She reached her hands into her bosom and rubbed them hard. Previously, when he fought with Pei Qin and the other 10 people, there was a lot of dirt on his body. Soon, he rubbed out a ball of dirt the size of a pellet. Here. Then, he chuckled, took out a ball of mud, and threw it to the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man grabbed it expectantly, but when he looked at it, his expression changed. He put it to his nose and sniffed it. There was also the stench of sweat. How dare you trick me? He suddenly raised his head and stared at the inner demons. His ferocious eyes looked as if he wanted to eat someone. The inner demons showed an aggrieved expression and said, I'm not lying to you. This is a divine pill. Try it if you don't believe me. Puff. Wang Zicheng and the others were all amused. Even the Frosty Ice Queen couldn't help but laugh. Treating dirt as a divine pill and bragging as if it was real, this guy was too much of a bastard. The one-armed old man's face was as calm as water. He waved his old hand, and the ball of mud turned into a stream of light and shot toward the inner demon's forehead. And now, this ball of mud was no longer a simple ball of mud. It contained the one-armed old man's battle chi, which was comparable to divine iron. The inner demon sneered, quickly raised his arm, and grabbed the ball of mud. Immediately, a huge force came over. He took a few steps back in a sorry state, and a wisp of purple-gold dragon blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. What a strong force! The inner demons was shocked, and his arm was numb. Then, he laughed and said, You don't want such a good thing. You really have no taste. But the one-armed old man turned a deaf ear to him. He stared at the purple-gold dragon blood on the corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth, his old eyes full of surprise. How can his blood be this color? The Spirit Queen and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. In fact, there had always been purple-gold dragon blood on Qin Feiyang's body, which was left when he fought with Pei Qin and the others. It was just that when they first saw it, they didn't take it seriously. They thought it might be some kind of liquid spurted out by some sea beast. However, they never expected that it was the blood that flowed out from Qin Feiyang's body. The inner demons pursed his lips and said lightly, I'm the reincarnation of the purple gold divine dragon. What's the fuss about? Purple gold divine dragon. Everyone's eyes trembled. They knew that Qin Feiyang was just joking, but there was indeed a dragon's power in the blood. You didn't come out. You hid it so well. If I'm not wrong, you should be the descendant of the Qin Emperor. The one-armed old man said in a deep voice. This time, it was the inner demons who were shocked. In his inner world, Qin Feiyang also turned pale with fright. He had long thought that the exposure of the purple gold dragon blood might expose his identity, but he didn't expect it to really come true. No. How did this old man know about the Qin Emperor? One had to know. Not long ago, Pei Qin and the others also saw the purple gold dragon blood, but none of them recognized it. But now, this old man recognized it at a glance. Could it be that this person's status was higher than Pei Qin and the others? Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes were filled with deep disbelief. He thought of the main tower, because this kind of secret was only known by the people of the main tower. But because of this, he found it hard to believe. If his guess was true, and the one-armed old man was really from the main tower, then when he said that he was following orders, wasn't he following the orders of the main tower master? He didn't believe that the main tower master wanted to harm him. After all, he was now the personal disciple of the main tower master and had received the inheritance of the first main tower master. He was already the next successor of the main tower master. Moreover, young Master Hao and he were also as close as brothers. The main tower master had no reason to harm him. But besides the main tower master, who else could it be? Suddenly, he thought of another thing. He remembered that Mu Qing had said something to him. The main tower master might not pass the position to him. He also said he didn't know much about the main tower master, but the Mu family knew everything. However, there were some things that couldn't be said clearly. In the end, Mu Qing also warned him to be careful. The person that Mu Qing told him to be careful of was no one else but the main tower master. Could it really be him? Recalling what Mu Qing had said, Qin Feiyang's heart began to waver. Perhaps this upright chief pagoda master was truly a despicable person. Then if this guess was true, wouldn't it be a conspiracy for the main tower master to let him and young master Hao come to experience? It was terrifying to think about. Whether it was Qin Feiyang himself or the inner demons, they didn't dare to think about it anymore. Because if it was true, then the main tower master was too shrewd. In the blink of an eye, seeing the inner demons looking at him in shock, the one-armed old man laughed in surprise and said, "It seems that this old man guessed right. The descendant of the Qin Emperor, you are really a big fish." The Qin Emperor? Wang Ziqing and the others looked at each other. Listening to the one-armed old man's tone, the Qin Emperor seemed to be a very great person. What should we do? The inner demons stared at the one-armed old man gloomily and asked secretly, "Since he has seen through it, there is no need to hide it. Cripple him and force him to tell us who is behind it," Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. "This matter must be investigated clearly, otherwise he would not be able to sleep and eat in peace." Understood. The inner demons smiled and looked at the one-armed old man and said, "Yes, I am the descendant of the Qin Emperor, and I am Qin Feiyang." Qin Feiyang? The one-armed old man was shocked and took a while to recover. He shook his head and said, "Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, we should have known that you are the descendant of the Qin Emperor. Who is this we? The main tower? Or the main tower master?" The inner demons immediately asked with lightning speed. "Main." The one-armed old man instinctively opened his mouth, but after saying one word, he suddenly came back to his senses. "Little bastard, how dare you trick this old man? You are courting death." His face immediately became ferocious, and the emperor's aura exploded. The island suddenly broke apart and shook violently. This emperor's aura, he is a 7-star combat emperor. Wang Ziqing and the others suddenly changed color, and their eyes were filled with fear. So what if he is a 7-star combat emperor? Break for me. The inner demon's blood-red hair fluttered, and the emperor's aura that imprisoned everyone was instantly broken. Immediately after, he waved his hand, and a supreme force emerged. Wang Ziqing and the others were immediately sent away from the island. "Old man, the person you should not provoke the most is me." The inner demons formed a seal with both hands, and the divine dragon seal appeared in an instant. "Who do you think you are? How dare you be so arrogant? Watch, killing you is like slaughtering a dog." The one-armed old man's eyes were full of contempt. He waved his arm, and the battle chi rushed into the sky like a waterfall. The next moment, a large hand that covered the sky appeared and exuded a sharp aura that could destroy the world. It slammed toward the inner demons. "Trash!" The inner demons sneered. The divine dragon seal broke through the sky and turned into a huge divine seal. Its divine aura shook all directions. Boom! In an instant, the two behemoths collided and a destructive aura rolled out in all directions with the two as the center. Crack! Crash! Half of the broken island disappeared in an instant. Huge waves rolled in and drowned the sky. At the same time, the invincible divine dragon seal was shattered by the giant hand. Then, the giant hand that covered the sky fell like lightning and hit the inner demons. Poof! The inner demon spurted out blood on the spot. Bloody wounds appeared on his body and blood flowed out like a waterfall. Boom! In the end, he crashed into the island below like a blood-stained meteorite. So powerful. In the distance, Wang Ziqing and the others' pupils contracted. Viper said in a deep voice, "Although Master's divine dragon seal is a divine art, the one-armed old man's cultivation is 4 small realms higher than him. I'm afraid this battle is a little difficult." Yeah, facing such an absolute suppression in cultivation, even if he uses all his means, he might not win, Dan Wonkai said. "Wait, what did you say? The divine dragon seal he used just now is a divine art?" Barbarian Bull and the others looked at Viper and Dan Wonkai in surprise. "Yes, and he has mastered more than one divine art." When I fought with him on Viper Island, my forbidden technique was instantly destroyed by his other divine art. Viper said with a self-deprecating expression. The forbidden technique was the biggest trump card of the 10 heroes of the Azure Sea. It was also the fundamental reason why they could dominate the inland sea. However, it was so vulnerable to a divine art. He even has a divine art. Chapter 1051. High up in the sky, the one-armed old man stood proudly, as if the god of death had descended, cold as frost. Below, the inner demons had sunk into the ground and were on the verge of death. In the distance, Wang Ziqing and the others were all nervous. They knew that if Qin Feiyang died here, then they might also be killed by the one-armed old man. The Qin emperors might shook the 4 seas. As his descendant, is this all you can do? It seems that the Qin emperor has no successor. Ha ha! The one-armed old man laughed wildly, his old face full of ridicule. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, the inner demons rushed out from the ground, his body covered in blood. One of his arms was also shattered, and the bowl-sized wound was shocking, looking extremely tragic. How much ability I have, you are not qualified to judge, nor are you qualified to blaspheme my ancestor. Old bastard, be prepared for it. He stared at the one-armed old man, his eyes filled with a bone-chilling killing intent. Boom! All of a sudden, a vast aura rushed out of his body, as if a god was awakening in his body, and it emitted a great pressure. The surrounding void distorted. The sea, huge waves rolled. Even the sky was trembling. What's going on? What is this vast aura? It actually makes me feel despair. It's more than despair. I feel as if a god is standing in front of me. This aura surpasses the War Emperor. Could it be that there is really a god hiding in his body? Wang Ziqing and the others suddenly changed their expressions. The one-armed old man's face also darkened, because this aura made him feel inexplicably flustered. The inner demon smiled sinisterly and roared at the sky. The third move of the Dragon God technique, Supreme Ruler. Boom. Woo-woo. In an instant, in the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and strong winds blew. Rays of purple-gold divine light tore through the dark clouds, like the curtain of the Milky Way, and fell down. This sea suddenly turned into a purple-gold ocean. The third move of the Dragon God technique. Viper's heart trembled. The first move, the Dragon God seal. The second move, he had seen them all, but he did not expect there to be a third move, Supreme Ruler. Such a domineering name, how heaven-defying was this move? I won't give you a chance. The one-armed old man could no longer sit still. It was obvious that the inner demons were using some kind of heaven-defying battle art. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made him feel so uneasy. Therefore, he had to forcefully interrupt the battle art before it took shape. Whoosh! He used a mysterious footwork and dashed toward the inner demons like lightning. Hey! The inner demons grinned and used Phantom Step to retreat. Meanwhile, with a wave of his hand, the purple-gold dragon chi in his body poured out like a waterfall and rushed into the clouds. Boom! In less than the blink of an eye, the purple-gold dragon aura collided with the purple-gold divine light that was descending from the sky. Immediately, a statue of a god appeared. The statue was of a middle-aged man, and his entire body was suffused with brilliant violet-gold divine light. He was around 300 m tall, had a clear outline, and carried a dense ancient aura. The eyes of the statue were even brighter, as if they were the eyes of God. They seemed to be able to see through everything and see through the origin of heaven and earth. The one-armed old man was dumbfounded. The statue in front of him was exactly the same as the statue of Emperor Qin in the Land of Inheritance, and this statue was also holding a broken sword in its hand. Although it was just a broken sword, it felt as if the world would be shattered if the sword was swung down. Old bastard, you should feel honored because this is the first time I'm using the third move. The inner demons laughed and then suddenly shouted, "Kneel before me!" His words were the law. The statue released a shocking emperor's aura, and it was like a tide that covered the sky and earth, instantly covering hundreds of miles of the sea. Not only the one-armed old man, but even Wang Ziqing and the others also felt a pressure from the depths of their souls. Plop. Wang Ziqing and the others were the first to kneel in the void. They didn't want to kneel, but they just couldn't control themselves. Plop. The one-armed old man gritted his teeth and held on for a few breaths before finally kneeling down. What a terrifying emperor's aura! He was shocked. He felt that the statue was like the return of an ancient emperor whose aura was inviolable. See? That's the difference between you and me. The inner demons looked down at the one-armed old man with disdain. The one-armed old man flew into a rage out of humiliation. Little bastard, I swear that I'll tear you to pieces today. He raised his head and roared. Accompanied by a deafening sound, a halberd rose from his back. He didn't dare to hold back and decisively activated his fighting soul. The halberd was more than 100 feet long, and it was shining with a silver light, releasing a destructive aura and a sharp edge. Bastard, go to hell. Slash. The one-armed old man's eyes were filled with hatred. He roared hysterically, and the halberd shook the sky and slashed at the inner demons. How dare an ant like you try to compete with the sun and the moon? You're overestimating yourself. Watch carefully, old bastard. What do you mean by a heaven-defying technique? The inner demon snorted with contempt. Then, he waved his hand and the statue moved. The statue raised the broken sword in his hand and slashed in the air. Clang! A purple-gold sword aura appeared and cut through the sky like lightning. It destroyed the halberd with an unstoppable force. Puff! The one-armed old man's body and mind trembled. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and his old face was filled with disbelief. How could it be so strong? This was too ridiculous. Even if it was a deity technique, it might not be comparable to the dragon god technique. The inner demons mocked, "Old man, hurry up and beg for mercy. As long as you kneel down and call me grandpa, I'll spare your life." Little bastard, don't be so smug. The one-armed old man sneered. Judging from your tone, you seem to have other tricks up your sleeve? Don't be long-winded. Show me everything. The inner demons crossed his arms in front of his chest. Both his eyes and his posture were filled with contempt. I don't have any other tricks up my sleeve. But don't forget your current situation. The one-armed old man sneered. Situation? The inner demons was slightly taken aback. He asked curiously, "What situation? Tell me." The one-armed old man said, "Not only the main tower, but even the trading pavilion is looking for you. If I expose your true identity, what do you think will happen to you?" So that's what you're talking about. But do you have the chance to expose yourself? The inner demons looked at him playfully. "Ha." The one-armed old man couldn't help but laugh and said, "I admit that you're very strong. Even I am not your opponent. But if you want to keep me here or kill me, you'll never be able to do it." Really? The playful look on the inner demon's face became even more intense. What do you think? I'm a 7-star combat emperor, and you're a 3-star combat emperor. We both have perfect supportive skills. If I want to leave, do you think you can stop me? Little bastard, just wait for your despair. The one-armed old man laughed and used his perfect supportive skills. He turned around and left. Sigh, you're too confident. The one who will despair is not me, but you. Innate divine ability. Emperor divine prison. The inner demons shook his head. The purple gold dragon soul appeared, and an invisible force surged out in all directions like a flood. The one-armed old man was immediately imprisoned in the void. His eyes were wide open in anger. The inner demon stepped on the dragon soul and landed in front of the one-armed old man. The statue also followed. The broken sword was placed against the one-armed old man's neck. The bone-piercing sharpness made the one-armed old man shiver. The inner demon said indifferently, "Speak. Who is the person behind you?" Purple gold dragon soul. When he saw the purple gold dragon soul under the inner demon's feet, the one-armed old man's eyes trembled. The inner demon shouted, "I don't have time to waste with you. Speak quickly." The one-armed old man's heart trembled. He looked at the inner demons and shook his head with a smile. "I have to admit, you're really an amazing young man." The inner demons raised his eyebrows. "Let me finish." With your talent and potential, no one in the entire forgotten continent can be compared to you. If you don't die, you'll definitely become the next Qin emperor. But unfortunately, do you know why? Because you'll definitely die today. And to be able to perish together with the descendant of the Qin emperor, it's actually my honor. The one-armed old man smiled. His smile was very bright. Perish together? Seeing the smile on the one-armed old man's face, the inner demons felt a strong sense of unease. Before I die, as you wish, I'll tell you who's behind this. That's right. As you expected, the one who sent me to kill you is the current Chief Tower Master. The one-armed old man said. It's really him. The inner demon's body trembled. He grabbed the one-armed old man's clothes and roared. Why? Did I do something wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. But you shouldn't have received the inheritance of the first Chief Tower Master. The one-armed old man sneered. What do you mean? The inner demons frowned. You received the inheritance of the first Chief Tower Master, which means that you'll be the next Chief Tower Master. And this is exactly what the current Chief Tower Master doesn't want to see, because he wants to leave this position to young Master Hao. That's why he sent you to Qinghai to get rid of an obstacle like you. The one-armed old man said. I see. The inner demons clenched his hands and said in a deep voice, Why in Qinghai? The one-armed old man said, Because if he gets rid of you in Qinghai, no one will suspect him. I understand. He asked young Master Hao and Wang Yu to go with me to cover it up. The inner demon said, Yes. With young Master Hao and Wang Yu no one will suspect him. Don't you think it's very ironic now? I thought I got a great fortune, but it turned out to be a disaster. The one-armed old man sneered. The inner demons laughed and asked, Do young Master Hao and Wang Yu know about this? No. The one-armed old man shook his head. The inner demon said, Then why didn't you kill me when we met on the beach? Why did you wait until now? It's because of the Chief Tower Master's order. The Chief Tower Master told me not to make a move if I can. It's best if you die in the hands of others, so I told you about the 10 heroes of Qinghai. Because with your character, you'll definitely be interested in the 10 heroes of Qinghai after hearing that. And the 10 heroes of Qinghai are all arrogant people. Conflicts will inevitably occur when you meet. But the only thing I didn't expect was that you've actually subdued them. The one-armed old man said, It turns out that I've fallen into your trap since I entered Qinghai. The inner demon sighed deeply, then grinned and said, Thank you for telling me this. You're welcome. Because even if you know, there's nothing you can do. Chapter 1052. Is that so? The inner demons narrowed his eyes. What is this person trying to do? Of course. You will die, and so will I, but the difference is that my death will be a worthy one. And your death will be regretful for the rest of your life. The one-armed old man chuckled as a hint of madness appeared in his eyes, and a destructive aura rushed out from his body. The inner demon's pupils shrank, and he said, So you're planning to self-destruct and die with me? That's right. It's too late now even if you can fly. Go to hell with me. The one-armed old man laughed as if he had gone mad. The destructive aura became more terrifying. Are you dreaming? Since you know that I am Qin Feiyang, you should know that I have a place to hide. The inner demon sneered. In the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. A place to hide. The one-armed old man's eyes trembled. After being reminded by Qin Feiyang, he finally remembered. He quickly stopped self-destructing. If he couldn't die with Qin Feiyang, then his self-destruction was meaningless. But it was too late to stop now. Boom! His fleshly body suddenly exploded in the void, and a destructive wave of air rolled out in all directions with an earth-shattering momentum. Bastard! I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. In an instant, his corpse was nowhere to be found. The shattered island below was also completely shattered and swallowed by the waves. Only his resentful roar remained, echoing in the world for a long time without dissipating. Powerful. Wang Ziqing and the other 8 people kept retreating, their faces full of shock. Even a 7-star combat emperor was forced to death by Qin Feiyang. His means were too terrifying. So this is his true strength. The big bull and Wang Ziqing looked at each other, and a self-deprecating smile crept up the corners of their mouths. They knew Qin Feiyang first, but at first, they didn't take Qin Feiyang seriously at all. They didn't expect him to be such a terrifying person, disregarding everything else. Just the innate divine ability of the purple gold dragon soul was enough to make anyone despair. What a strong fluctuation. Looks like Big Brother Mu is fighting with someone again. Meanwhile, Wang Yuer and young Master Hao stood in the sky above the island, looking in the direction of the volcanic island, their eyes filled with shock. The two islands were separated by thousands of kilometers, but they could still sense the aura of the one-armed old man's self-destruction. So it was not hard to imagine how intense the battle was over there. As time passed, everything gradually calmed down. The inner demons also came out of the castle. Greetings, Master. Viper, Black Monkey, and Dan Wangkai quickly flew over and bowed respectfully. As for Wang Ziqing and the others, after witnessing the strength of the inner demons, a trace of respect appeared on their faces. Because this was a world where the strong were respected, the inner demons took a bone-replenishing pill and a healing pill. They turned to look at the spot where the one-armed old man had exploded and sneered, "Regret for life? What a joke." Immediately, he looked at Dan Wangkai and said, "Give me your pill fire." This, Dan Wangkai's face changed. What did he want his pill fire for? The inner demons raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "Do you need me to repeat myself?" "No need, no need." Dan Wangkai hurriedly waved his hand, quickly took out his pill fire, and respectfully handed it to the inner demons. The inner demons grabbed it in his hand and instantly erased the blood contract inside. "Master, you." Dan Wangkai was anxious. He only had this cluster of 7th grade pill fire. If it was gone, how could he refine pills in the future? But the inner demons only gave him a look, and he did not dare to say anything more. Then, the inner demons took out another 2 clusters of 7th grade pill fire and then took out the nether devil flame. So many pill fires? Looking at the 4 clusters of 7th grade pill fires in front of them, the 10 people could not help but be stunned. One had to know, in the entire Forgotten Continent, there were not many 7th grade pill fires, but this person actually had so many in his hands. However, this person took out so many 7th grade pill fires. What did he want to do? The next moment, a scene that surprised them appeared. That cluster of black flames actually swallowed the other 3 7th grade pill fires. The inner demons laughed and said, "The nether devil flame can increase its grade by swallowing other pill fires." What? There's such a thing? The 10 people were dumbfounded. This was even more shocking than knowing that Qin Feiyang had the divine art. Boom. Not long after the inner demon's voice fell, the nether devil flame trembled in the void, releasing a shocking aura. This world suddenly seemed to have turned into a big furnace, and the seawater below was quickly evaporating. This aura indeed surpasses the 7th grade pill fire. It really improved. The shock in the hearts of Wang Ziqing and the others could not be any greater. The inner demon smiled proudly and sent the nether devil flame back to the ancient castle. After Dan Wangkai came back to his senses, he hurriedly asked, "Master, then what should I use to refine pills in the future?" The inner demon said lightly, "Don't ask me this kind of thing. When the original body comes out, ask him. He will definitely help you think of a way." "All right." Dan Wangkai nodded helplessly. Original body? Wang Ziqing and the others who did not know were dumbfounded again. The inner demons glanced at the 7 people, looked at Viper and the other 2, and asked, "The potential pills I gave you, have you used them?" "Not yet." The 3 of them shook their heads. The inner demon said, "Well then, while my cultivation is still there, Dan Wangkai, Black Monkey, stand together. I will help you open the door of potential." Boom. When Wang Ziqing and the others heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue. Open the door of potential? What was going on? Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey were overjoyed. They quickly gathered together, took out the potential pills, and threw them into their mouths. "Master, what about me?" Viper looked at the 2 of them and asked anxiously. "Your cultivation is not a 9-star battle saint. You can't open it for the time being." After the inner demons finished speaking, he immediately released his Emperor's aura and rushed toward Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey. At that moment, Dan Wonkai and the black monkey knelt in the void, howling in pain. Blood gushed out of their pores, and they felt as if their bodies were about to be torn apart. Hold on, the inner demons shouted. Wang Ziqing and the others looked at the two of them in surprise. As for Viper, he looked distressed. Time passed by. Boom. Suddenly, Dan Wonkai and the black monkey's bodies shook, and a dull sound exploded in their bodies. At the same time, a dazzling black light shot out from their hearts. The inner demon smiled and retracted his emperor's aura. Did we succeed? The two of them looked at the inner demons anxiously. The inner demons nodded. The two of them suddenly became spirited. Ignoring the blood all over their bodies, they quickly tore open their clothes and looked down at the potential imprint on their hearts. They saw that the original white potential imprint had now turned black. We really succeeded. The two of them looked at each other, overjoyed. This is absolutely impossible. But at the same time, Wang Ziqing shook his head vigorously, his face full of disbelief. The Spirit Empress and the others were the same. What kind of joke was this, to actually use pills to open the gate of potential? Dan Wonkai stood up, glanced at them and sneered. The truth is right in front of you. The black monkey also looked at Wang Ziqing and said proudly, Usually, you always show off in front of us that you have opened the second level of the gate of potential. Now that we have finally caught up to you, tell us, what do you think? But Wang Ziqing seemed to have not heard it and kept muttering to himself. It seemed that he would not be able to accept this fact in a short period of time. The black monkey laughed sinisterly. Also, let me tell you, the second level is really nothing, because Master has already opened the sixth level of the gate of potential. The sixth level? Wang Ziqing suddenly raised his head and stared at the inner demons. The Spirit Empress and the others were also shocked. The sixth level of the gate of potential, this was something they did not even dare to think about. The inner demons smiled playfully and looked at Viper. How long will it take for you to break through? Viper thought for a moment and said, Should be another half a year. The inner demon shook his head. Too long. I will help you break through to the 9-star battle saint now. Wait for me. After saying that, the inner demons went to the ancient castle. Help me break through now? Viper was stunned, looked at Dan Wonkai and the black monkey, and said, Did I hear wrong? No. He did say that. The two of them said, No way. He can refine pills that can help me break through? Viper was shocked. Dan Wonkai and the black monkey looked at each other, and their faces were also full of shock. Everyone knew that only martial artists, masters, and masters could use the red fire-colored glass pill to break through. Warriors above the Battle King level had to rely on their own efforts, and there was no shortcut. But judging from the inner demon's tone and attitude, it did not seem like they were joking. After a while, the inner demons appeared, holding 2 pills in his hands. 1 antidote pill, 1 9-turn dragon blood pill, and both of them had 7th-grade pill veins. Take it. The inner demons handed it to Viper. Wang Ziqing and the others were deeply shocked again. He could even refine pills with 7 pill veins. What kind of monster was this person? Thank you, Master. Viper was grateful. He first took the antidote pill, closed his eyes, and sank his mind into his body to observe the poison. The poison hidden in his body was equivalent to a time bomb. If not removed as soon as possible, he would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. A moment later, he opened his eyes, and there was a trace of anger on his face. He looked at the inner demons and said, There's no way to remove it completely. It seems that I can only go to Pei Qin to get the antidote. The inner demon's eyes darkened slightly, and he said, Pei Qin has been killed. When Pei Qin was killed, Viper was not there, so he did not know. At this moment, when he heard the inner demon's words, he suddenly changed his expression and said, Have you found the antidote? Well, at that time, I was having a good time killing and completely forgot about it. The inner demons was stunned. Then he scratched his head, and his face was full of embarrassment. Then what about the poison in my body? Viper was desperate. Pei was dead, and the antidote pill with 7 veins was useless. Didn't that mean there was no hope? Don't worry, I don't think I destroyed Pei Qin's body at that time. His Heaven Earth bag should still be there. As long as we find his Heaven Earth bag, We should be able to find the antidote. The inner demons comforted him, then looked at the island below, embarrassed again. He had forgotten. The island had long been destroyed in the battle between him and the one-armed old man. Since the island was destroyed, how could there be a corpse? It's over. It's completely over. Chapter 1053. Dan Wonkai and the Black Monkey couldn't help but look at Viper sympathetically. Viper had already told them about being poisoned, so they knew how terrible the poison was. As long as Pei Qin died, Viper was basically waiting for death. From this point, it also showed that although the inner demons were powerful, they weren't very reliable. Because if it was Qin Feiyang himself, he would definitely not forget to get the antidote for Viper. Don't worry, there must be a way. The inner demons comforted him. What way? Viper looked at him weakly. The inner demons didn't know how to answer. Swish. At this moment, another Qin Feiyang appeared beside the inner demons. Wang Zicheng and the others were surprised. Greetings, young lord. Dan Wonkai and the Black Monkey immediately bowed. That's right. This was Qin Feiyang himself. Seeing Qin Feiyang himself appear, Viper seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw and cried, "Young lord, you must save me." Don't worry. This matter hasn't reached the point where it can't be saved, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Viper was suddenly energized. He stood up and asked, "Young lord, do you have a way?" Qin Feiyang said, "Even the antidote of 7 elixir patterns can't remove the poison. The poison that Pei Qin gave you is undefeatable." Viper's heart sank. Even the young lord couldn't do anything? Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "But because of this, other people in the divine python tribe must have the antidote." Viper was surprised. It's actually very simple. Let's put ourselves in their shoes. If we can make such a poison, will we give some of the antidote to our relatives in case of emergency? Qin Feiyang asked. Viper thought carefully and nodded. If it's a close relative, we will definitely give it to them. Isn't that right? Moreover, Pei Qin's poison is a great threat to anyone. As for the super forces, the most common thing is to scheme against each other, including the divine python tribe. Let's not talk about the others. Let's talk about the chief of the divine python tribe. Although I've only met him once, this person is extremely vicious and merciless. For the sake of power, he even murdered his own elder brother. It's impossible for such a ruthless character to completely trust the people around him. When he finds out that Pei Qin can concoct this kind of medicine, he will definitely ask Pei Qin for the antidote as soon as possible, just in case. So I concluded that he definitely has the antidote on him, Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Viper was ecstatic. The main body was the main body. No matter what difficulties it encountered, it would be able to find a solution at the fastest speed. Although the inner demons are very strong, they are not as smart as me. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Don't worry. When we return to the Divine City, I will go to the Divine Python tribe and get the antidote." "Thank you, young master." Viper hurriedly bowed and thanked him. "I can't stay outside for too long. You guys can continue." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and returned to the inner world. Viper's suspended heart finally relaxed. Then, he looked at the other pill in his hand, raised his head to look at the inner demons, and asked suspiciously, "Master, what kind of pill is this?" The inner demons glanced at Wang Zicheng and the others from the corner of his eyes, and said expressionlessly, "This is called 9-turn dragon blood pill. It can increase the cultivation of War Emperor and War Saint." What? Viper's gaze trembled. Wang Zicheng and the others also looked at the 9-turn dragon blood pill in shock. In fact, the inner demons had deliberately said it to them. These people were all arrogant and unruly people. It was almost impossible for them to willingly submit. So, the inner demons thought of a way to break down the defenses in Wang Zicheng and the others' hearts step by step. The first step was to display extraordinary strength. For example, the various divine arts and the purple gold dragon soul, to achieve the effect of intimidating Wang Zicheng and the others. Obviously, this step was very successful. The second step, he helped Dan Wonkai and Wang Zicheng open the door to their potential, and took out the detoxification pill with 7 patterns and the 9-turn dragon blood pill to further intimidate Wang Ziqing and the others. No. To be exact, the second step was to tempt them. This step was also successful. Now, the third step was to help Viper become a 9-star war saint. He wanted to completely defeat Wang Ziqing and the others mentally and spiritually. He did not believe that after seeing these miraculous pills, Wang Ziqing and the others would not be tempted. The inner demons said, "Take it." Okay. Viper nodded repeatedly, took the 9-turn dragon blood pill, sat cross-legged in the void, and closed his eyes. Boom. The pill melted in his mouth and turned into a majestic energy, rolling toward his limbs and bones. Immediate effect. Viper's aura rose crazily. The 9-turn dragon blood pill with 7 patterns had a 70% success rate, which almost meant that it would not fail, unless he stepped on dog feces outside and was extremely unlucky. And Viper's luck was still good. Soon, he broke through the shackles of an 8-star war saint and broke through to a 9-star war saint. I really did it. Viper opened his eyes, and his face was filled with ecstasy. Although there was still half a year before he could break through to a 9-star war saint with his own efforts, time was very precious to cultivators. Many things could be done in half a year. He looked up at the inner demons and said with admiration, "Master, you're too amazing, you're my idol." The inner demons said with a cold face, "Stop flattering. Quickly take the potential pill. I'll help you open the second door of potential." Okay. Viper nodded and quickly took out the potential pill and took it. After a painful process, the second door of potential was successfully opened. "I can't take it anymore." Deadface roared and knelt in front of the inner demons on one knee and said respectfully, "Master, please give me the potential pill too." Shun-Yi and his brothers looked at each other, stepped forward, and knelt in front of the inner demons and said, "Master, we're also willing to serve you." "Very good. Please believe me, you definitely won't regret the decision you made today." The inner demons laughed heartily and entered the castle, took out 4 potential pills, and opened the second door of potential for the 4 of them. Now, only the big bull, Wang Ziqing, the spirit queen, and the ice queen were left. "Girls, I won't force you. I can even remove your slave seal, but you have to think carefully, because if you do that, you won't be able to get the potential pill, and then the gap between you and Viper and the others will become bigger and bigger. One day, Viper and the others will stand at the top of the pyramid of the Forgotten Continent and be respected and worshipped by the world. And you can only hide at the side and die in silence. There might even be people laughing at you. Weren't you all part of the Blue Sea's 10 heroes? Why is the gap so big?" The inner demons joked. The 2 girls trembled, and a trace of struggle appeared in their eyes. "You only have one chance. If you miss it, the next time you want it, even if you kneel down and beg me, I won't bother with you, because I don't need it anymore." The inner demon said calmly, with a deep sense of disdain in his tone. The 2 girls looked at each other and finally gritted their teeth, knelt down on one knee, and said respectfully, "Greetings, master." Haha. The inner demons laughed. As long as these 2 girls submitted, the big bull wouldn't be far away from submitting. However, the 2 girls felt that the inner demons was laughing at their cowardice, and a trace of anger appeared on their faces. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not laughing at you. On the contrary, I admire you, because you have a lot of awareness. Do you know why?" The inner demons said playfully. The 2 girls shook their heads. The inner demon's eyes surged with a bloody light, and he laughed sinisterly. "If you really believe me and let me remove the slave seal, then it'll be the time of your death." The 2 girls' eyes trembled. So this was a trap. "However, you're very smart and chose to follow me. Of course, I can't favor one and discriminate against the other." The inner demons took out 2 potential pills and helped the 2 girls open the second level of the door of potential. The dead man's face rolled his eyes and asked carefully, "Master, I heard you say that the 9-turn dragon blood pill is useful for battle masters and battle saints. Is it useful for us 9-star battle saints?" "Yes. Although it can't let you break through to battle emperor, it can break through the bottleneck. As long as you take the 9-turn dragon blood pill, You can easily step into a 1-star battle emperor in less than an hour. The inner demon said proudly. The group of people suddenly became excited. There was a gap between a 9-star battle saint and a 1-star battle emperor. Although they were extremely talented, it wasn't easy to cross this gap. Don't worry, before you take the 9-turn dragon blood pill, I'll help you open the first 7 levels of the door of potential. The inner demon said. Everyone's heart trembled. Opening the 7th level of the door of potential, this was something they didn't even dare to think about before. The barbarian bull finally couldn't hold it in, but he couldn't put down his face. He looked at the inner demons and wanted to say something, but stopped. Wang Zicheng's expression changed, and he shouted, "Barbarian bull, what are you trying to do? Could it be that even you can't resist the temptation? Have some backbone, okay? What's the use of having backbone? Just like now, I'm stronger than you. I can trample on you however I want. Do you dare to fight back? Moreover, you're already like this. Don't you think it's ridiculous to talk about having backbone?" The inner demon's face was full of disdain. The barbarian bull closed his eyes in pain and finally sighed. He opened his eyes and bowed. "Greetings, master. At least you know what's good for you." The inner demon sneered and helped the barbarian bull open the 2nd level of the door of potential. "You guys are really despicable." Wang Zicheng looked at the 9 people with disdain, and his face was full of disappointment. But the 9 people turned a deaf ear. The inner demons also ignored him and looked at Viper and the others with a smile. "Quickly rest. I'll help you open the 3rd level later." "Okay." Viper, Dan Wangkai, and the black monkey were overjoyed. They quickly sat cross-legged in the void, took healing pills, and closed their eyes to meditate. As for the barbarian bull and the others, after tasting the sweetness, they simply let go. After all, no one could change the situation at this point. Rather than continue to resist and suffer, they might as well accept it. Hey, are you ignoring me?" Seeing that the inner demons ignored him, Wang Zicheng was very unhappy. Even if he didn't want to submit, shouldn't he at least put on an act and ask him? Now, they just left him here and didn't ask him what was going on. The inner demons still ignored him. They didn't even look at him and directly went to the ancient castle. They did it on purpose. Chapter 1054. Bastard. Wang Zicheng was furious. He stared at Viper and the others and roared, "We, the Qinghai 10 heroes, are all proud. I didn't expect you to become like this. I'm really ashamed of you. Don't be like a shrew. If you don't want to see us, then get lost." "No, I forgot. You've been captured too. You don't even have the chance to leave." Viper sneered. Wang Zicheng, although Viper's words are unpleasant, it's also a fact. We've been captured and have no choice. Big Barbarian Bull sighed. "I don't think so. Not only does this person have a divine art, but he also has a peerless divine pill like the potential pill. If we follow him, we'll definitely be able to go further and stand higher." Dan Wonkai said with a fiery gaze. Everyone nodded. "You're all obsessed." Wang Zicheng was about to go crazy. The Arctic Queen said, "We're not obsessed. A wise man submits to circumstances." "Even you say so?" Wang Zicheng looked at the Arctic Queen in disbelief. "I don't want to argue with you now. I just want to open the 7th level of the Gate of Potential and step into the Warlord realm." After the Arctic Queen said that, she closed her eyes. The others ignored Wang Zicheng and focused on recovering. Looking at everyone's expressions, Wang Zicheng lowered his head. His conviction could not help but waver. About an hour later, the inner demons finally came out of the ancient castle. However, there was a hint of irritation between his brows. During this time, he was refining the small creation pill and 9-turn dragon blood pill. Small creation pill, 20 pills. 9-turn dragon blood pill, 9 pills. Originally, refining these medicinal pills would not take such a long time. After all, there were only 29 pills in total. But the problem was that the Netherworld Devil Flame needed more mental strength than before to reach the 8th grade. Now, he could only refine 10 pills at a time before his mental strength was exhausted. He had a headache. The soul refining technique was also strengthening his mental strength at any time, but he could not keep up. If only there were other ways to increase his mental strength. The inner demon sighed. He looked at Viper and the others and asked, "Have you recovered?" "Yes." The 9 nodded. The inner demons immediately took out 9 potential pills and threw them to everyone. Then, he helped them successfully open the 3rd level. Next, the 9 of them began to cultivate again. When they were done, they continued. After 6 hours, Viper and the others finally opened the 7th level of the Door of Potential. The 6th level's potential imprint was dark gold in color. As for the 7th level's potential imprint, it was reddish gold in color and was extremely eye-catching. Next, the inner demons then gave the 9 transformation dragon blood pills to Dan Wonkai and the others. Finally, the 8 of them all stepped into the 1-star combat emperor realm. As for the Viper, he had already taken the 9 transformation dragon blood pill, so he naturally could not take it again. However, it didn't matter to him now, because with his current cultivation speed, it wouldn't be long before he could break through to the War King. However, Wang Zicheng's heart was in a complete mess as he watched the 9 of them undergo a complete transformation in front of him. Submit? Not submitting? These 2 thoughts had been alternating in his mind all this time. The inner demons glanced at Qin Feiyong from the corner of his eyes, turned off the kill symbol tactic, and did not stay any longer. He entered the inner world and looked at the original body of Qin Feiyong and laughed. "My mission has been completed. I'll leave the rest to you. Especially that Wang Zicheng. Torture him well." Qin Feiyong smiled. His consciousness left the inner world and quickly regained control of his body. As soon as his original body returned, his eyes and long hair immediately began to change. This is, Viper and the other 2's pupils shrank as they immediately bowed and said, "Welcome, young master." "Young master?" Barbarian Bull and the others were startled. Deadface asked suspiciously, "Viper, you call him young master for a moment, and master for a moment. What's going on?" Viper said, "The one before was the inner demons, and this is the original body." Inner demons. Their expressions changed. Actually, it's very easy to differentiate. In the future, if you see the blood-haired Qin Feiyong, he will be the inner demons, and if it's the black-haired Qin Feiyong, he will be the original body. The inner demons will be called Master, and the original body will be called Young Master, understand? Viper said. "I see. Greetings, young master." Barbarian Bull and the others suddenly understood, and then bowed. "Since you followed me, we'll be a family in the future. There's no need to be so reserved." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Young master, what's going on with your cultivation?" Barbarian Bull looked at him suspiciously. Why did he suddenly fall from a 3-star combat emperor to a 3-star combat saint? Qin Feiyong explained, "This is a divine art called the kill symbol tactic. After it's activated, it can absorb the blood of living beings and increase one's cultivation by 1 realm. Increase 1 realm. The group was stunned. Wasn't this too outrageous? Even if it was a divine art, it shouldn't be this abnormal. Wang Zicheng also stared at Qin Feiyong in shock, and his eyes almost popped out. Couldn't this bastard say something normal? Was he trying to scare people to death? Qin Feiyong glanced at the boundless sea and let out a long breath. He smiled and said, "Now that I've obtained the alchemy fire, the trip to the Azure Sea can be considered complete. Viper, Dan Wonkai, the 2 of you will follow me to the Divine City. The rest of you will temporarily stay in the Azure Sea and wait for my orders. Barbarian Bull, take out your image crystal." "Yes." The 9 of them respectfully replied. After Barbarian Bull and the other 5 took out their image crystal and established the contract bridge, Qin Feiyong looked at Viper and Dan Wonkai and said, "Let's go." From beginning to end, he didn't look at Wang Zicheng and quickly left with Viper and Dan Wonkai. Wang Zicheng was anxious and roared, "What about me? You can do whatever you want. What does it have to do with me?" Qin Feiyong said without turning his head, Wang Zicheng hesitated. Qin Feiyong didn't need to look to know that Wang Zicheng was wavering, but he didn't take the initiative to speak. He wanted Wang Zicheng to say it himself. Deadface frowned and said, "Wang Zicheng, don't hesitate. You won't get another chance. Everyone has their own ambitions. Don't force yourself. Otherwise, he will regret it in the future and blame you." The black monkey sneered. Wang Zicheng's face was gloomy. Barbarian Bull glanced at Wang Zicheng and said, I guess it won't be long before the Azure C10 heroes change our name. Change what name? Everyone looked at him suspiciously. The Azure C9 heroes. Barbarian Bull said, Everyone was stunned and then couldn't help but laugh. The meaning was obvious. Soon, they would surpass Wang Zicheng, and by then, Wang Zicheng wouldn't be worthy of being on the same level as them. What do you mean? Wang Zicheng glared at the 9 people angrily. Barbarian Bull said indifferently, I don't know if it's interesting or not. I only know that it will be too late if you don't speak now. Wang Zicheng's eyes trembled. He looked up at Qin Feiyang, only to see that Qin Feiyang and Viper were about to disappear. Wang Zicheng clenched his hands and said with the last bit of courage, I surrender. Barbarian Bull immediately mocked. I thought you were tough, but it turns out that you're just Aoso. But you're so quiet. How can the young master hear you? Wang Zicheng's face was red. He didn't care so much. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, he shouted, Young master, I surrender. In the distance, above the sea. Hearing Wang Zicheng's roar, Viper and Dan Wangsai's eyes had a trace of ridicule at the same time. Wasn't he tough? Didn't he still bow his head? Qin Feiyang also stopped and a bright smile appeared on his face. Actually, the inner demons had long expected that Wang Zicheng would surrender, so when refining the 9-turn Dragon Blood Pill and the Small Creation Pill, they also refined Wang Zicheng's portion. Qin Feiyang took out a jade box, put a potential pill, 2 potential pills, 2 Small Creation Pills, and a 9-turn Dragon Blood Pill into it, then closed the jade box and threw it with force. The jade box immediately turned into a stream of light and flew in the direction of Wang Zicheng. Then, he left with Viper and Dan Wangkai without saying a word. Why is there no response? I've already taken the initiative to surrender. What else do you want? Not waiting for Qin Feiyang's response for a long time, Wang Zicheng couldn't help but fly into a rage out of humiliation. And, look, something is flying over. Dead Face suddenly locked onto the void in front of him and said in surprise, It's a jade box. It must have been thrown by the young master. Barbarian Bull's spirit was lifted, and he immediately rushed towards the jade box. Big Barbarian Bull, what are you trying to do? Wang Zicheng also quivered. With a roar, he actually activated the forbidden technique and shot towards the jade box. Barbarian Bull stopped in his tracks, looked at Black Monkey and the others, and mocked. I was just joking. Look at how anxious he is. Deadface chuckled. Seeing that we have all opened the gate of potential, how can he not be anxious? Finally, Wang Zicheng grabbed the jade box and opened it without saying a word. His eyes were immediately filled with ecstasy. Big Barbarian Bull, you guys help Wang Zicheng open the gate of potential. Also, my true identity is not allowed to be mentioned to anyone. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's ethereal voice came from the distant sea. Yes, Barbarian Bull and the others immediately replied respectfully and then surrounded Wang Zicheng. Didn't Big Brother Mu say that Brother Mu would come to find us soon? Why isn't he here yet? At the same time, young Master Hao was pacing back and forth on a mountain peak, feeling anxious and uneasy. I think even if your father went missing, you wouldn't be so anxious. Wang Yuer rolled her eyes. How can an old man be the same? With his strength, who can hurt him? But Brother Mu is different. This inland sea is extremely dangerous. What if something unexpected happens? Young Master Hao was worried. He has such a powerful big brother. What can happen to him? Can you stop pacing around? I'm getting dizzy because of you. Wang Yuer said angrily. Young Master Hao smiled embarrassedly, but he stopped beside Wang Yuer and looked in the direction of the volcanic island, frowning. Whoosh! No one knew how long had passed. The sound of something piercing through the air was heard. Young Master Hao hurriedly looked over and was instantly overjoyed. Above the distant sea, a white-robed young man came at lightning speed. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang? However, Viper and Dan Wangkai were gone. They were sent to the castle by him. The bloodstains on his body were washed away on the way, and he changed into a new set of clothes. He looked energetic. Chapter 1055. Brother Mu, we're here. Young Master Hao ran to the edge of the cliff, waving his hand and shouting. Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. He stopped in the air and looked in the direction of the voice. When he saw young Master Hao on the top of the mountain, an inexplicable emotion rose in his heart. The chief pagoda sent the one-armed old man to assassinate him. Frankly speaking, he was already angry. But young Master Hao's affection for him was extremely sincere. This made it difficult for him to get along with him.
Alas,
I'll take it one step at a time. After a while, Qin Feiyong sighed inwardly. He restrained his emotions and greeted young Master Hao with a smile on his face. Where have you been? Why didn't you contact us for so long? You didn't respond to our messages. When Qin Feiyong landed on the top of the mountain, young Master Hao immediately scolded him. Qin Feiyong glanced at Wang Yuer and smiled. I have something urgent to deal with. Sorry to make you worry. Who's worried about you? Wang Yuer rolled her eyes and stood up. Why is your brother in Qinghai? Qin Feiyong shook his head. I don't know. He sent me a message a few days ago. I was quite surprised. Has the alchemy fire appeared? Wang Yuer asked. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, It's in my brother's hands now. Wang Yuer said, Then why don't you bring it here? How can we go back without the alchemy fire? I don't have the guts. Because my brother is a master who doesn't even recognize his own family. If I provoke him, I won't have a good time. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. Young Master Hao said, It doesn't matter. Anyway, the biggest purpose of my father's sending us to Qinghai is to train me. Wang Yuer raised her eyebrows and nodded. That's true. You've grown a lot in these months. We can go back and report to our superiors. So, shall we go back now or? Young Master Hao looked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and said with a smile, Let's go back now. Now that the matter in Qinghai had been dealt with, there was no point in staying any longer. It was better to return as soon as possible and find a way to obtain the 5-colored crystal. Wang Yuer took out the Saint King ship, and the three of them landed on the deck. The Saint King ship immediately broke through the waves and sailed away. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong looked at young Master Hao and asked calmly, Oh right, did your father send a message to ask about our situation? No, that old man won't worry about us. Young Master Hao snorted coldly. I don't think so. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Then what do you think? Young Master Hao looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and didn't answer. He sat cross-legged on the bow and closed his eyes to meditate. Although the Chief Pagoda Master wanted to harm him, he had to admit that the Chief Pagoda Master treated young Master Hao well. This was because they were afraid that he would compete with young Master Hao for the position of the next Chief Pagoda Master. Seeing this, young Master Hao didn't ask any more questions and started cultivating as well. But Wang Yuer looked at Qin Feiyong a few more times. She always felt that the current Qin Feiyong seemed to be a little different from the Qin Feiyong of the past. However, she couldn't tell what was different about him. If Qin Feiyong knew about this, he would definitely be shocked. He had already concealed it very well, but it was still discovered by Wang Yuer. This woman's intuition was really terrifying. Suddenly, Wang Yuer squatted beside Qin Feiyong and sent a sound transmission. Mu, I have a question to ask you. What's the problem? Qin Feiyong opened his eyes and looked at her warily. Because in Wang Yuer's eyes, he caught a trace of a sly smile. Wang Yuer secretly said, I heard that you have something that can make the War Master break through a small realm in an instant. What exactly is that thing? Qin Feiyong was stunned and immediately looked at young Master Hao angrily. Wang Yuer secretly snorted coldly and said, This is a problem between us. Don't disturb his cultivation. Qin Feiyong said playfully, A problem between us? When did we become so familiar with each other? We're already engaged, yet we're still not familiar with each other. Then what do you think is enough? Is that so? Wang Yuer smiled charmingly and sat on the deck. Then, under Qin Feiyong's astonished gaze, she actually snuggled into his embrace, and even stretched out her jade fingers to stroke Qin Feiyong's chest. Qin Feiyong's heart immediately surged with evil fire. Damn little demoness. She actually used a charm technique. He cursed and immediately pushed Wang Yuer away, saying to himself, Men and women shouldn't touch each other. We're going to get married sooner or later anyway. What are you afraid of? Wang Yuer continued to tease. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be annoyed. Suddenly, his eyes rolled, and he hugged Wang Yuer in his arms and said with an evil smile, "Since you can't wait, I might as well fulfill your wish." Wang Yuer's tender body stiffened, and she immediately became obedient. She broke free from Qin Feiyang's evil clutches and snorted coldly, "Don't be complacent. Sooner or later, I'll make you take the initiative to say it." "I'm afraid you don't have the ability." Qin Feiyang smiled proudly. "Bastard." Wang Yuer cursed silently and then turned around, her face flushed with anger. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Although Wang Yuer was usually a little domineering, sometimes she was quite cute. However, it was only a matter of time before he fell out with the chief pagoda master, and he couldn't continue to entangle with her like this, including young Master Hao. The volcanic island was located in the depths of the inland sea, and there was still a long way to go to the outer sea, and there was no portal in the inland sea, so they could only rely on the Sage King. On the way, they would inevitably be harassed by fierce beasts. But when they saw Qin Feiyang sitting cross-legged on the deck, those fierce beasts fled in fear. Although it was the inner demons who had killed so many people in the inland sea, this face had been branded in the depths of their souls. For them, the owner of this face was a death god that they couldn't provoke. Although Qin Feiyang had a fierce reputation in the hearts of the sea beasts, it was also because of this that the journey was peaceful. The next day, the Sage King passed by the demonic island. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and glanced at the demonic island. For some reason, he had an impulse to enter the demonic island. But in the end, this impulse was forcibly suppressed by him. The Sage King continued to move forward. Day after day passed. There was no delay on the way, and in only a month, the Sage King arrived at the mythical island. After a month of meditation, Qin Feiyang's cultivation had improved a lot. But compared to the improvement of his cultivation, what made him happier was that his spiritual power had increased by another level. Level 22 spiritual power. And the mythical island was still the same as before, without the slightest change. Wang Yuer put away the Sage King, and the three of them walked on the mythical island, glancing at the surrounding vegetation, mountains, and rivers. For a moment, all of them were filled with emotions. It had been half a year since they entered the inland sea. So many things had happened in this half a year, and it felt like a very long dream. Soon, Qin Feiyang came to the lake again. The sense of familiarity that the mythical island gave him still hadn't disappeared. The lake was calm and without waves. Qin Feiyang stared at it for a moment, then turned to Wang Yuer and said, "Wait for me here. I'll go down and take a look." Before Wang Yuer could react, he had already jumped down. Chapter 1056. A moment later, Qin Feiyang came out. After repeated confirmations, there was indeed nothing else in the lake other than the mermaid pattern. "What are you doing down there?" Young Master Hao looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Nothing. I just want to see if I can find any treasures." "Find treasures?" Young Master Hao was stunned and rolled his eyes. Wang Yuer also looked at him as if he was an idiot. The island was the only way to go from the outer sea to the inner sea. Countless people had passed through here in the past. Even if there were treasures, they would have been looted long ago. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "We can teleport from the outer sea. Let's teleport back directly." "Okay." Young Master Hao nodded. The three of them did not delay any longer and quickly left the island. Then, young Master Hao opened a teleportation door and walked in one after another. At the same time, in a courtyard of the main tower's Holy Land, a middle-aged man stood in a pavilion and was writing a word with a brush. This middle-aged man was wearing a pure white robe. His long hair was draped behind his back, and his whole body exuded an unfathomable aura. It was young Master Hao's father, the main tower master. He was the only one in the courtyard. He held a dazzling golden brush in his hand and wrote with all his might. The word he was writing now was the word kill. Every stroke contained a shocking murderous aura. Not only did the word kill have killing intent, but his eyes also had waves of killing intent, like the edge of a blade. Suddenly, his arm paused, and he glanced at the gate of the courtyard. Then, with a wave of his hand, the brush and the paper with the word kill in his hand instantly turned into powder, and the killing intent in his eyes also dissipated. Swish! Almost at the same time, in front of the gate of the courtyard, 3 figures appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang, young Master Hao, and Wang Yuer. The main tower master turned to look at the 3 of them and smiled. "You're back? We didn't die. Are you very disappointed?" Young Master Hao snorted coldly, kicked open the gate of the courtyard, and swaggered in. Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer looked at each other and could not help but shake their heads with a bitter smile. In the entire Forgotten Continent, only this young Master Hao dared to kick the gate of the main tower master. "Greetings, Master." "Greetings, Uncle." The 2 of them walked in one after the other. They stood in front of the pavilion and bowed. Chief Pagoda Master nodded with gratification and asked, "Did your trip to Azure Sea go smoothly?" "It went well," Wang Yuer replied respectfully. But at the same time, looking at the Chief Tower Master's smile, Qin Feiyang no longer had that kind of amiable feeling. This was a person who was very good at disguising himself. It was impossible to find any flaws in his disguise. If he didn't already know the true face of this person, he would definitely continue to be confused by these illusions. Chief Pagoda Master smiled and asked, "Did you bring back the pill fire?" Wang Yuer was at a loss for words for a moment. She glanced at Qin Feiyang from the corner of her eyes. Qin Feiyang bowed and said, "Shizhuan, this has nothing to do with them. It's my fault for not being able to snatch the alchemy fire." "What happened?" The Chief Tower Master revealed a hint of suspicion in his eyes. "It's my big brother. He also went to the inland sea. The moment the alchemy fire appeared, it was snatched by him." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he hurriedly added, "But Shizhuan, I swear that I didn't leak the news of the alchemy fire appearing in Azure Sea to him. So that's how it is." Chief Pagoda Master suddenly understood and asked, "Is he your big brother?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Chief Pagoda Master said, "Then your big brother is quite powerful. He dares to snatch something that our Chief Pagoda wants." Qin Feiyang's expression changed. He hurriedly said with fear, "Shizhuan, please calm down. I'll send a message to him later and persuade him to hand over the alchemy fire." "There's no need for that." Chief Pagoda Master waved his hand. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Chief Pagoda Master said, "I believe Gongsun Bei has already told you the real reason why I asked you to go to Azure Sea." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's why I don't care about the alchemy fire. What I want is for Hao to grow in this experience. As for the news of the alchemy fire being leaked, I never doubted you, because I know that there are many spies in my Chief Pagoda." Chief Pagoda Master smiled. So this person knew and just pretended not to know. As expected of a sly old fox, Qin Feiyang muttered inwardly and pretended to be relieved. Chief Pagoda Master smiled again. "But I'm very interested in your big brother. When he has time, ask him to come to the Chief Pagoda as a guest." Qin Feiyang said, "It's my big brother's honor. I'll definitely tell him." Chief Pagoda Master smiled and looked at young Master Hao. "How was it? Did you get anything from this trip?" Young Master Hao said, "A little." Chief Pagoda Master said with interest, "Then you summarize it for me." Young Master Hao lowered his head and pondered for a while before sighing. "In short, I was a frog at the bottom of a well." Hee. Although it was only one sentence, Chief Pagoda Master was extremely gratified. Chief Pagoda Master looked at Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer and said sincerely, "Thank you for taking care of him along the way, and even more thank you for bringing him back alive, not letting me send him off." Wang Yuer laughed. "Uncle, you're being too polite. I've always treated him as my younger brother, so it's only right for me to take care of him." Haha, Chief Pagoda Master laughed heartily. But suddenly, he frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Do you know? Although you're not in the Divine City, during this period of time, the Divine City has been in an uproar because of you." Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Chief Pagoda Master said, "Someone spread the news that you were killed in the internal sea?" "Bastard! Who is spreading rumors?" Before Qin Feiyong could say anything, young Master Hao had already lost his temper. Chief Pagoda Master shook his head. I don't know who is spreading rumors, but everyone in the Divine City is talking about it. Wang Yu was also puzzled. Only Qin Feiyong knew in his heart that it must have been spread by the people of the 9 great tribes. He began to look forward to it. When he appeared in front of these people, what kind of reaction would they have? Suddenly, he had an idea and looked at Chief Pagoda Master. Then, Master, did you believe it before? Of course I didn't. Because if you were really in trouble, you and Howard would definitely report to me immediately. Chief Pagoda Master laughed. That's true. Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly. Chief Pagoda Master frowned. But this matter can't be groundless. What exactly happened to you in Shanghai? Speaking of which, I'm angry. Young Master Hao took the lead to speak again, his face full of indignation. What's wrong? Chief Pagoda Master turned to look at him. Old man, do you know? As soon as we left the Divine City, someone came to assassinate Brother Mu. Young Master Hao said angrily, Who has the guts to touch my direct disciple? Chief Pagoda Master's eyes were slightly gloomy. Fu Anshan and the Qilan tribe. Fortunately, Brother Mu was vigilant, otherwise, he would have died long ago. Even the person called Fu Han sent by Fu Anshan planned to kill me and my sister. Young Master Hao said. Is that true? Chief Pagoda Master was no longer calm. Young Master Hao said, Of course, we caught that Fu Han on the Divine Island, and he admitted it himself. Fu Anshan told him not to leave any of us alive, that is to say, to kill all 3 of us. This is true. Wang Yu also nodded. Fu Anshan. Chief Pagoda Master's eyes were filled with killing intent. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed and he bowed. Master, you don't have to worry about this matter. Leave it to us. After saying that, he gave young Master Hao a look. Young Master Hao nodded and said, Yes, 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 we will take care of it. Really? Chief Pagoda Master looked at him doubtfully. Young Master Hao said solemnly, Believe me this time. I guarantee that this time, you will have a whole new level of respect for me, and I will also investigate the cause of Li He and Shan Feiyun's death. Chief Pagoda Master looked at him in surprise and said with a smile, It seems that this experience has really made you grow a lot. Well, I will give you this opportunity. Go ahead and do it. The meaning was obvious. No matter what young Master Hao did, he would unconditionally support him. Thank you, Dad. Young Master Hao was overjoyed. Qin Feiyong was stunned. After being together for so long, this was the first time he heard young Master Hao affectionately call Chief Pagoda Master father. All right, you have been busy for so long. Go back and have a good rest. Chief Pagoda Master smiled. This disciple will take his leave. Chapter 1057. Half a year had passed. The calm Heart Lake had not changed much. The lake water was clear and rippled. A wisp of breeze blew past, making people feel relaxed and happy. On the island, the vegetation was still lush and hundreds of flowers were blooming. It was like a paradise on earth, a paradise. I'm finally back. This place makes people feel at ease. Young Master Hao glanced at the island and looked at Qin Feiyong and said with a smile. Qin Feiyong nodded. By the way, Brother Mu, I really don't know how to investigate the cause of death of Shan Feiyun and Li He. Since we are brothers, please point the way. Young Master Hao chuckled. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly and said with a smile, Everyone is tired. Go and have a good rest. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Young Master Hao nodded and said, All right, I'm not in a hurry anyway. I'll come find you tomorrow morning. With that, young Master Hao turned into a stream of light and disappeared from his courtyard. Mu, just you wait. Sooner or later, I'll make you confess. Wang Yu glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong and also flew towards her courtyard. She was very curious about young Master Hao's breakthrough from a 9-star War Master to a 1-star War Saint. She would not give up until she figured it out. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. He also returned to the courtyard and went straight into the attic. But as soon as he entered, he hurriedly closed the door and stood in the hall with his head lowered. His eyes flickered. Suddenly, his eyes flashed as he opened the teleportation door. activated the concealment technique, and walked in without looking back. The next moment, he once again appeared in front of the Chief Pagoda Master's courtyard. But after activating the concealment technique, the Chief Pagoda Master did not discover him. Qin Feiyong did not go in either. He just stood outside the courtyard and quietly looked at the Chief Pagoda Master. At this moment, the Chief Pagoda Master was sitting alone at the stone table with his head lowered in silence. After an unknown period of time, the Chief Pagoda Master suddenly took out an image crystal. Buzz. Soon, a shadow appeared. It was an old man in white with white hair and a white beard. He had a kind face and his entire body exuded an otherworldly aura. And between his eyebrows, there was an extremely eye-catching flame mark. And this mark was black. Ancestor Mu is back. Chief Pagoda Master looked at the white-clothed old man and said in a deep voice. The white-robed old man's pupils contracted. Chief Pagoda Master said, "What is One-Armed doing? Why didn't you leave him in Qinghai?" The old man in white was silent for a moment before he said, "We've lost contact with Dubai." "What?" Chief Pagoda Lord, he suddenly stood up. The white-clothed old man said, "I think something bad has happened to him." "How could this be?" Although the inner sea is dangerous, with the one-armed 7-star combat emperor's cultivation, there shouldn't be any accidents, the Chief Tower Master said in disbelief. "I'm also thinking about this. Should I send someone to Qinghai to investigate the cause of his death?" The white-robed old man asked. "We must investigate, because I'm worried that One-Armed's death might be related to Ancestor Mu," the Chief Tower Master said in a deep voice. The white-clothed old man was shocked. Ancestor Mu was only a battle saint. How could she be related to Dubai's death? Chief Pagoda Master said, "Ancestor Mu definitely doesn't have this ability, but we can't rule out his family and friends, such as his elder brother." "Big brother?" The white-clothed old man frowned. "Yes. I just heard from Ancestor Mu that the 7th-grade Pillfire was snatched away by his elder brother. Since he dared to snatch something from our Chief Pagoda, this person's ability must not be small, so we must investigate carefully." Chief Pagoda Master said, "Okay, I will arrange it immediately." The white-clothed old man nodded and turned off the image crystal. "As I expected, seeing that I came back alive, he must be suspicious of me." Qin Feiyong muttered and was about to leave, but the Chief Pagoda Master activated the image crystal again. A trace of doubt appeared in his eyes as he continued to peek. Buzz. Not long after, Gongsun Bei's image appeared. Seeing that it was the Chief Pagoda Master, Gongsun Bei immediately bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord." The Chief Pagoda Master nodded and said, "Remember last time I asked you to investigate Ancestor Mu's parents?" "Yes." Gongsun Bei nodded. The Chief Pagoda Master said, "At that time, did you ask if Ancestor Mu has any brothers?" "No, I didn't." Gongsun Bei shook his head and then asked suspiciously, "Why did Lord suddenly ask this?" "It's nothing. Now I will give you a task. Immediately go and bring Ancestor Mu's parents to the Chief Pagoda." The Chief Pagoda Master said. Gongsun Bei was stunned and puzzled. "Why do you want to bring them to the Chief Pagoda?" The Chief Pagoda Master said, "Don't ask too much, just do as I say. I hope to see them in half an hour." "Yes, I will do it right away." Gongsun Bei respectfully responded, and the image disappeared. The Chief Pagoda Master also put away the image crystal and returned to the stone bench and fell into deep thought again. Amazing! Not only did he start to suspect me, but he also immediately arranged the next step. Qin Feiyong secretly sneered. If he guessed correctly, the Chief Pagoda Master asked Gongsun Bei to bring his parents to the Chief Pagoda to threaten him. However, the Chief Pagoda Master is destined to miscalculate, because those two people are not Qin Feiyong's parents at all, but two imposters arranged by the Mujia. Wait and see. Let's see who will have the last laugh. Qin Feiyong secretly sneered and was ready to leave again. But as soon as he turned around, he suddenly felt a mysterious force emerging. He quickly looked at the Chief Pagoda Master again. The reason for that was because the mysterious power was coming from the pavilion. When he saw the Chief Pagoda Master again, his eyes suddenly lit up. At this moment, the chief pagoda master was holding a crystal in his hand. This crystal was triangular in shape, as big as a baby's fist. It was colorful and had sharp edges, shining with a hazy brilliance. Yes, this crystal is the 5-colored crystal that the mysterious madam asked him to snatch. It appeared. Qin Feiyong was quite excited. As long as he got the 5-colored crystal, there was no need for him to continue to stay in the chief pagoda. The opportunity can't be missed. He made up his mind and was ready to snatch it from the chief pagoda master's hands now. Because now is a good opportunity. The chief pagoda master didn't find him. As long as he can approach the chief pagoda master without being noticed, he will succeed. Let's do it. He rose into the air and quietly flew towards the pavilion. In fact, at this moment, he was very nervous. Because the chief pagoda master's strength was too strong. He was worried that if he got close and was discovered by the chief pagoda master, it would be troublesome. However, what he was worried about didn't happen. He got closer little by little, but the chief pagoda master didn't notice. He lowered his head and looked at the 5-colored crystal, his eyes full of greed. Seeing this, Qin Feiyong was quite surprised. What exactly is this 5-colored crystal? Not only did the mysterious madam covet it, but the chief pagoda master also loved it. 1 meter, 2 meters. He was only a dozen meters away from the pavilion. Qin Feiyong also became more careful. But at this moment, staring at the 5-colored crystal, the chief pagoda master's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. He said coldly, "No one can take the position of the chief pagoda master from me." After saying that, he clenched his big hand and the 5-colored crystal disappeared. Damn it! Qin Feiyong cursed and decisively retreated. 1 step, just 1 step. After returning to the attic, he lay weakly on the chair, his face full of unwillingness. If he didn't get it this time, he didn't know when the next time would come. He felt that God seemed to have played a big joke on him. Alas! After a while, he sighed and took out the image crystal. Buzz! Not long after, Mu Qing's shadow appeared. Looking at the hall where Qin Feiyong was, Mu Qing said in surprise, "You're back from Qinghai? Why? You don't want to see me back?" Qin Feiyong sneered. Mu Qing grinned and said, "Aren't you joking? I just want you to live a long life." Hypocrite. Qin Feiyong sneered and said, "Let's get down to business. Are the 2 people you arranged to pretend to be my parents still in the 9th area?" "Yes. We were worried that the chief pagoda master would investigate, so we arranged for them to stay there. Is there a problem?" Mu Qing asked. "Yes. Gongsun Bei went to find them. Ask them to leave immediately," Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. "Why?" Mu Qing was surprised. "You're right. The chief pagoda master is not a simple person. This time, he asked me to go to Qinghai to kill me." Qin Feiyong briefly explained the situation. After listening, Mu Qing was full of hope. He shook his head and sighed. "I expected that he would attack you, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Fortunately, it's you. If it were someone else, even if they had 9 lives, they would have died in Qinghai." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said, "Since you expected it, why didn't you tell me? Didn't I remind you? I told you to be careful of him." Mu Qing joked. "What kind of reminder is that?" Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him and said, "Don't talk nonsense. Ask them to leave quickly. Don't let them be caught by Gongsun Bei." Mu Qing said, "What if Gongsun Bei didn't find them and came to question you? How will you answer?" Qin Feiyong said, "There's no need to think about it. Just find an excuse." "Okay, I'll inform them right away," Mu Qing said, and the shadow dissipated. Qin Feiyong also lowered his head, and his eyes flashed coldly. He asked Mu Qing to tell the 2 to leave, not because he was worried about their safety, but because he was afraid that they couldn't withstand the chief pagoda master's interrogation and would reveal his true identity. At that time, not to mention snatching the 5-colored crystal, he might not even be able to keep his life. Then, he sent a message to Wang Ziqing and the others and gave them a little explanation. He was worried that the people sent by the chief pagoda master to Qinghai would ask Wang Ziqing and the others for information, and those who didn't know about it would probably leak it. After telling them, Qin Feiyong lowered his head and thought carefully. Was there any other loopholes? Because in the current situation, There was no room for any mistakes. Finally, after confirming that it was flawless, he put away the image crystal, took a long breath, went to the second floor, fell on the bed, and fell asleep. He was too tired. Chapter 1058. The next morning. Creak. Young Master How opened the door and walked out of the attic. He stood in front of a flower bed and sniffed the fragrance of the flowers. He stretched and said, "I feel much better after a good sleep." Then he turned around and looked at Qin Feiyong's attic. Seeing that the attic door was closed and Qin Feiyong was not on the balcony, he was a little surprised. Is this guy sleeping too? Swish. He stepped out and landed in front of Qin Feiyong's attic. He knocked hard on the door. "Why are you knocking so early in the morning?" After a while, Qin Feiyong's angry roar was suddenly heard in the room. "Still angry when you wake up?" Young Master How was surprised and joked, "Why don't you come out and see? The sun is almost on your butt." Tap, tap. Soon, with a series of footsteps, the attic door opened. Qin Feiyong stood behind the door with sleepy eyes and looked at the sky outside. The sun had not risen from the horizon yet. "Are you sick?" He looked at young Master How angrily. He finally wanted to have a good sleep, but he was woken up so early. "Are you really sleeping?" Young Master How looked at him curiously, as if he had discovered a new continent. "I am also a human being. There are times when I am tired. Why can't I sleep?" Qin Feiyong glared at him, turned around, and walked towards the bathroom. "Are you a human being? You are obviously a monster." Young Master How followed him and laughed. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and said, "Okay, cut the crap. Why are you here so early in the morning?" Young Master How said unhappily, "Didn't you say you would help me investigate the cause of Shen Feiyun and Li He's death? Have you forgotten?" Qin Feiyong said, "I didn't say I would help you investigate. I just said I would give you some advice." "Don't be like this. I don't have much confidence on my own." Young Master How smiled embarrassedly and pretended to be a follower. He looked at Qin Feiyong with admiration. Qin Feiyong shook his head helplessly and said, "Wait for me." After saying that, he went into the bathroom. Not long after, he came out, looking energetic. Qin Feiyong entered the hall and took out the pampered tea of Qinghai. While making tea, he said, "Based on your personality, shouldn't you go to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion first after returning from Qinghai?" Young Master How chuckled and said, "That's why I came to you. Don't make tea. Let's go together." Qin Feiyong quickly stretched out his hand and said, "Don't. If it's nothing important, I usually don't go to that kind of place." Boring. Young Master How pursed his lips and had no choice but to sit in front of Qin Feiyong. A moment later, the tea was ready. Qin Feiyong poured 2 cups. He handed 1 cup to young Master How and slowly tasted the other cup himself. Young Master How wasn't in the mood to talk now. He urged, "Tell me quickly. What do you think of this matter?" Qin Feiyong said, "What I know, you know too. Why are you asking me?"
Yes.
"I do know, but I really can't figure it out. What exactly does Fu Anshan have on the leader of the Divine Python tribe?" Young Master How frowned. "I don't know either. It's hard to investigate this matter in a short period of time." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "There's something you can't do? How strange." Before he finished speaking, a cold snort came from outside the door. Wang Yuer, dressed in a snow-white dress, with her hair like a waterfall and her sparkling skin like a fairy, floated in. Qin Feiyong glanced at her and said, "Who provoked you this time? Why is there such a strong smell of gunpowder so early in the morning? What do you think?" Wang Yuer looked at him coldly and sat down beside the two of them. She washed a teacup and poured tea for herself. "You really don't think of yourself as an outsider," Qin Feiyong said. Wang Yuer was unmoved and said indifferently, "No matter what, I'm your fiancé now. Can I be considered an outsider?" Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly, got up, looked at young Master How, and said, "Let's go. I'll take you to a place." "Where?" Young Master How was suspicious. Qin Feiyong said with a faint smile, "A place where you can solve the puzzle." As he spoke, he opened a portal and walked in without looking back. Young Master How's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly followed. "Bastard! He left as soon as I came. He did it on purpose. Wang Yuer stomped her feet angrily and hurriedly got up and chased in. Not long after the three of them left, a young man in purple appeared in the sky above the courtyard. It was Gongsun Bei. As soon as he appeared, he sensed Qin Feiyang's aura. But in the end, not only did he not sense Qin Feiyang's aura, but even the auras of young Master Hao and Wang Yuer disappeared. Where did all of you go so early in the morning? Gongsun Bei frowned and opened a portal to leave. At the same time, North City. In a rather luxurious study, an old man in black was half lying on the chair in front of the desk, resting with his eyes closed. He was Fu Anshan. My lord, this lowly one has seen you smiling all this time. Did something good happen? There was a short man standing next to him. He had long yellow hair and two hideous scars on his neck. He was flattering Fu Anshan. Of course. Would I be so happy if I didn't encounter something good? Fu Anshan said. What good news? Tell me, and I'll be happy for you. The short man smiled obsequiously. There's no harm in telling you. Didn't my useless son, Fu Xiong, get killed by Ancestor Mu and the others? Now that Shun Feiyun and Ancestor Mu are dead, I can be considered avenged. So now, I want to find another woman and have a few more children, in case something happens in the future and there's no one to take care of me. Fu Anshan smiled. So that's how it is. The short man nodded in realization and said obsequiously, this is a good thing. It means that you're old but strong. I wonder if you found a woman you like now? Of course. Fu Anshan nodded. Who is it? So lucky to be chosen by you? The short man asked. Well, let's keep you in suspense first. When I get married to her, you'll definitely be shocked. Fu Anshan said with a smile. The short man chuckled and cupped his hands. Then I'll congratulate you first, my lord. Ha. Fu Anshan laughed heartily, and his old face was flushed red. Hee. What's making you so happy? Can you tell us so that we can have some fun too? Suddenly, a teasing voice echoed in the study. Following that, a certain part of the void fluctuated, and two men and a woman appeared out of thin air. Fu Anshan was stunned. He looked at the three of them and shouted arrogantly, You guys are quite bold. Without this old man's permission, you dare to barge into this old man's study. However, before he finished speaking, his old face immediately turned green. He stood up abruptly and looked at the three of them, his eyes filled with disbelief. That's right. The people who came were Qin Feiyang, young Master Hao, and Wang Yuer. Are you disappointed to see me come back alive? Qin Feiyang sat casually beside the tea table and looked up at Fu Anshan, his eyes full of ridicule. Impossible. Ancestor Mu is already dead. Who exactly are you? How dare you impersonate him? Fu Anshan shouted. Impersonate? Qin Feiyang laughed. Such a living person standing in front of him, and he actually said that he was impersonating? It seemed that this person firmly believed the rumor of his death. Not answering? That means that you're really impersonating him. How dare you impersonate the direct disciple of the chief pagoda master? You're simply courting death. Wei Yin, take him down. Fu Anshan's eyes turned cold as he shouted to the short man beside him. Yes. The short man responded respectfully, and with a terrifying sneer, he pounced towards Qin Feiyang fiercely. Wei Yin? Qin Feiyang looked at the short man in surprise. Why did this name sound so familiar? That's right. Yinwei, Wei Yin. Could this person be Yinwei? Swish. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to secretly ask, young Master Hao stepped in front of Qin Feiyang, looked at the person called Wei Yin, and shouted, Fu Anshan, are you courting death? Fu Anshan's pupils constricted, and he suddenly sneered, You must be someone else impersonating you. Wei Yin, take him down. Understood. Wei Yin laughed sinisterly. Young Master Hao was completely furious, and he shouted, How dare you? Just you wait. I'll immediately call Gongsun Bei over and flatten your trading pavilion. Then, he took out the image crystal. Fu Anshan was shocked. Could it be that Ancestor Mu was really not dead? But that was impossible, because this news was personally reported by Pei Qin and the others. Moreover, Tanjing was a member of his trading pavilion, so he would definitely not lie. Buzz. Gong Sun Bei's figure appeared. Oh no. Fu Anshan's face instantly changed when he saw Gong Sun Bei appear. Wei Yan's body stiffened, and he did not dare to step forward again. His face was full of fear. At the same time, Gong Sun Bei was also looking for Qin Feiyang. When he saw Qin Feiyang and the other two, he immediately said, "You just came back. Why don't you have a good rest?" Young Master Hao said, "One night's rest is enough. Now, we're in the trading pavilion in the North City. Someone suspects that we're impersonators and even wants to harm us, so we need you to help us verify it." "Who's so bold?" Gong Sun Bei raised his eyebrows. Young Master Hao turned the image crystal and pointed it at Fu Anshan and Wei Yan. "Greetings, Lord Gongsun." The two of them hurriedly bowed. Gong Sun Bei said, "You dare to attack them? You're quite bold." Fu Anshan's old body suddenly trembled, and he hurriedly said, "Lord Gongsun, this is a misunderstanding. Let me explain." "Okay, I'd like to see how you explain," Gong Sun Bei said, his eyes flashing coldly. "Because of the rumors. Rumor has it that Ancestor Mu has died in Qinghai. Now that he suddenly appears in front of me, I'll definitely be suspicious." Fu Anshan said, "That's true." Gong Sun Bei nodded and then snorted coldly. "Fortunately, you didn't make a big mistake. Otherwise, even if you had 10 heads, they wouldn't be enough to kill you." "Yes, yes, yes." Fu Anshan nodded repeatedly, his forehead already drenched in cold sweat. Young Master Hao sneered, turned the image crystal, looked at Gong Sun Bei, and said with a smile, "Thank you." Gong Sun Bei rolled his eyes at him, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "When you're done, come to the Oracle Hall to find me." "The Oracle Hall?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and a light flashed in the depths of his eyes. He nodded and said, "Okay." Chapter 1059. After turning off the image crystal, Qin Feiyang and the other two were silent as they looked at Fu Anshan quietly. Fu Anshan became more and more guilty and nervous. The atmosphere in the study room was also extremely solemn. Plop. Finally, Fu Anshan could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground and begged, "Young Master Hao, miss you young Master Mu. I was blind before. I hope the three of you can be magnanimous and not bicker with me." Young Master Hao sneered, "You are the manager of the transaction pavilion. I even heard that you were about to inherit the position of Deputy Pavilion Master. How can we dare to bicker with you?" Fu Anshan's gaze trembled as he hurriedly smiled obsequiously. "Young Master Hao, aren't you flattering me?" "Humph." Young Master Hao snorted coldly and said, "It's good that you know. Not to mention a small manager. Even if you have inherited the position of Deputy Pavilion Master, you have to obediently lie down in front of me." "Yes, yes, yes." Fu Anshan nodded repeatedly. Young Master Hao smiled disdainfully and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, as if asking, "What should I do next? I've already brought you here, but you still don't know what to do. You're really something." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "I don't know how to start." Young Master Hao smiled embarrassedly. Qin Feiyang was speechless and sent a voice transmission. "Bring up Fu Han." "Fu Han?" Young Master Hao was stunned for a moment before a look of realization appeared in his eyes. He laughed secretly and said, "Understood." Then, he looked at Fu Anshan and said indifferently, "I heard that you have a person called Fu Han under you." Fu Anshan panicked and nodded. "Indeed." Young Master Hao said, "Then where is he now? Let him come and see me." Fu Anshan's heart skipped a beat as he shook his head and said, "Young Master, I don't know where he is now. Isn't he your subordinate?" Young Master Hao sneered. "He is my subordinate, but I have never restricted his freedom, so he usually roams outside." Fu Anshan hurriedly explained, "Is that so?" Young Master Hao smiled playfully. "Absolutely." Fu Anshan nodded and swore, "I think it's you who can't find him now. Let me show you something." Young Master Hao took out an image crystal. Light flickered, and an image appeared in the void. The screen showed the scene of Fu Han's confession. "Damned bastard. You actually betrayed me." Looking at the scene and listening to Fu Han's confession, Fu Anshan's face was gloomy, and his heart went crazy. A moment later, young Master Hao put away the crystal, smiled and asked, "Tell me, what kind of explanation do you plan to give?" "Young Master, I'm innocent," Fu Anshan immediately exclaimed. "The evidence is irrefutable, and you're still claiming innocence?" Young Master Hao couldn't help but feel angry. Qin Feiyang secretly said, "Don't be hasty, let's hear how he's going to argue first." Young Master Hao looked at him suspiciously. Then, he looked at Fu Anshan and sneered. "Then tell me, how did I wrongly accuse you? I swear that I have never asked Fu Han to harm you. I don't have the guts to do so. In my opinion, it must be Fu Han who went behind my back and was caught by you. In order to survive, he framed me. Please investigate clearly, young master." Fu Anshan's face was innocent and sorrowful. Needless to say, he really acted like a victim. How shameless. Young Master Hao cursed secretly. A villain like him has long lost his face. Why would he care about it? Qin Feiyang sneered. Young Master Hao raised his eyebrows and said via voice transmission, "Then if he refuses to admit it, won't we be unable to do anything to him?" "You can say that. However, even if he refuses to admit it, when this matter is exposed, he will be doomed eternally," Qin Feiyang said. "For example?" Young Master Hao asked secretly. Qin Feiyang said, "For example, he will lose his position as the manager of the trading pavilion, or face your father's interrogation. So you can use this aspect to force him to submit?" "Understood." Young Master Hao's eyes lit up, and he looked at Fu Anshan and said, "Even if you are wronged, Fu Han is your subordinate after all. What do you think my father will do to you if I report this matter to him?" Fu Anshan's body trembled, and his old face was full of panic. But he was pondering in his heart. According to young Master Hao's words, it seemed that he had not told the chief pagoda master. Did this mean that there was still room for negotiation? Thinking of this, his heart skipped a beat. He looked up at young Master Hao suspiciously and said with a flattering smile, "What does young master want me to do?" "You are quite aware." Young Master Hao laughed. "Although I am not strong, I am not stupid. After such a big thing happened, young master did not report it to the chief pagoda master immediately. You must want me to do something for you. Young master, please feel free to tell me. As long as it is within my ability, I will do anything." Fu Anshan vowed solemnly, his face full of flattery. "That's what you said. I want to know, what is your relationship with the divine python tribe?" Young Master Hao said. Fu Anshan was secretly shocked and asked calmly, "Why do you ask, young master?" Young Master Hao said, "Fu Han told me that you are colluding with the divine python tribe. He is also slandering me. Maybe he is colluding with the divine python tribe?" "Young master, don't be deceived by his lies," Fu Anshan cried out. Young Master Hao could not help but be angry. In short, this old man would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He stood up and said with a smile, "All right, let's go." "Go?" Young Master Hao looked at him suspiciously. "If he left just like that, wouldn't this trip be in vain? I thought you were very capable, but it turns out that you are just SOSO. Wang Yu could not help but mock him secretly. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, opened a teleportation door without saying a word, and left without looking back. Wang Yu and young Master Hao could only follow helplessly. The next moment, the three of them appeared in the sky above the calm Heart Lake. Young Master Hao frowned and said, "Brother, what are you thinking?" "Don't worry. The real show has only just begun." The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth raised. He opened another teleportation door and laughed. "Grab me?" Young Master Hao and Wang Yu looked at each other, their eyes filled with confusion. But they also raised their arms and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulders. Qin Feiyang immediately activated the concealment art and brought the two of them into the teleportation door. In the next moment, they once again descended into Fu Anshan's study. Young Master Hao and Wang Yu looked at each other. What was this person doing? Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission. "Don't make a sound, just watch quietly." The two of them nodded and looked at Fu Anshan silently. Fu Anshan had already stood up and was sitting beside the desk, his eyes filled with anger and killing intent. Wei Yin, who was at the side, pondered for a moment, then walked behind Fu Anshan. His eyes shone with a cold light as he whispered, "Sir, do you want me to help you silence them?" "Shut up." Fu Anshan's expression changed as he hurriedly shouted. Wei Yin shrunk his neck in fear. Sigh. Fu Anshan looked at Wei Yin and sighed. Wei Yin, I know you are doing this for my own good, but they all have extraordinary statuses and are not people you can touch. Wei Yin said, Then are we just going to be threatened by them like this? What else? If they weren't in the divine city, I would still dare to take a gamble. After all, the emperor is far away. But now, they are right under the nose of the chief pagoda master. Do I dare to do that? So, you must remember not to act recklessly, lest you go for wool and come back shorn. At that time, the only ones who will be unlucky will be you and me. Fu Anshan said, For master, I am not afraid of death. I will definitely not be like Fu Han and betray you, master. Master, let this lowly one do it. Wei Yin knelt down in front of Fu Anshan, swearing to die. Looking at the loyal person in front of him, Fu Anshan felt gratified and waved his hand. Don't mention this matter anymore. I won't let you do it. Get up. Hearing that, Wei Yin lowered his head dejectedly and said dejectedly, Does master think that I'm not strong enough? You've misunderstood. This old man doesn't want you to throw your life away. After all, it's too difficult to find a loyal subordinate now. Fu Anshan laughed. Wei Yin was moved to tears. He lowered his head and said, Thank you for your appreciation, master. This lowly one will definitely be at your beck and call in the future, until my death. Good, good, good. Get up quickly. Fu Anshan nodded his head and laughed, and even personally helped Wei Yin up. Next, Wei Yin stood respectfully behind Fu Anshan. Fu Anshan leaned on his chair, rubbing his forehead with a distressed expression. After an unknown period of time, Wei Yin said in a low voice, Master, I have something to ask, but I don't know if it's appropriate. Ask away. Fu Anshan said powerlessly. Wei Yin said, Just now, young noble Hao said that you were colluding with the divine python tribe. Is that true? Fu Anshan immediately frowned and turned to look at Wei Yin, his eyes cold to the extreme. Wei Yin's body trembled. He anxiously knelt on the ground and begged. This lowly one spoke out of turn. Please spare my life. Fu Anshan lowered his head and stared at him, his expression uncertain. Sigh. Suddenly, he let out a low sigh and laughed. Wei Yin, although you haven't been with this old man for long, this old man has seen your loyalty to this old man. Wei Yin did not dare to make a sound. He was extremely afraid. Fu Anshan pondered for a moment and said, Actually, this matter has been bottled up in this old man's heart for too long. This old man also wanted to find someone to talk to, but I couldn't find anyone I could truly trust. However, you must promise this old man that you will never let a third person know. Wei Yin was overjoyed and immediately patted his chest, saying, Don't worry, master. This lowly one will definitely keep my mouth shut. Fu Anshan nodded. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up and said to young noble Hao, Quickly take out the image crystal and record it. Young noble Hao was startled and hurriedly took out the image crystal. The study room door was dead silent. Fu Anshan seemed to be lost in his memories and did not speak for a long time. About 100 breaths passed. He glanced at Wei Yin and finally opened his mouth, saying, As young noble Hao said, this old man is indeed related to the leader of the divine python tribe, but it's not collusion, it's blackmail. Blackmail? Wei Yin said in surprise. Are you blackmailing them, or are they blackmailing you? Of course it's this old man who blackmailed him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.